everyone, and welcome back to the Great Owl Entertainment, and welcome to the first video of 2019. And I know we apologise, it has been a while since we uploaded. I'm sorry we missed January. The plan was to have the first video out by the fall of January, but unfortunately life got in the way, and that's fair, it's life. But hey, we're here now, and we're finally back with Great Owl Reviews, and we'll be starting this year off with the first video talking about Doctor Who Series 11. Today, I am joined by my loyal companion, Harry.
Hello!
Now, this is a video that's been in the long run for a while. This was going to be one of the first videos we did into December, but things got in the way, and hey, I've already spoiled.
Also, the episode didn't come out until the 1st of Jan.
We were planning to do the video once the final episode ended. However, considering how Resolution tied into all that, we thought, let's hold off until the final episode comes out so we can actually talk about it as a whole. So we're finally going to be here talking about it.
Yay! And to be honest, I have I only just recently started or finished the series because this is the first ever series of Doctor Who where I just haven't watched it as soon as it has come out.
Yeah. Honestly, that happened for me long ago with Series 9. Cause, again, I think I've already stated on the show before, but I do not hold Series 9 in good graces. But in light of the current season, that might change.
Yeah. That's funny, yeah.
So yeah, getting straight into this one, we'll go through each episode individually, give a brief summary, and just give our thoughts on it until we'll finally give the overall thoughts at the end of the video. Yeah, we'll kick this straight off with the first episode, and we actually did a video previously giving our fresh thoughts on the episode when it first aired, prior to the rest of the season airing. So if you want to check out that video, by all means, I feel like our opinions might change a bit, but that kind of gives you an idea of how we viewed the start of the series, and it might contrast with how we view it now. So it'll be interesting watches if you want to watch those two back to back. But yeah, we're in the now, so let's actually talk about the series now.
Yay.
I'm terrible with writing. Yeah, anyways. So kicking this off, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. What are your thoughts on it, mate?
So the first one, I was optimistic when it ended because it wasn't bad, but it wasn't a great opener, and it didn't really introduce everyone properly, if you know what I mean. They were introduced, but the sort of main bit I got off of it was the character who died. So that doesn't show, it's not the best review for the episode if the only character I enjoyed was the one that's dead. Yeah. And I didn't like. Okay, I'm going to go into this positive because God knows that the rest of it will not be positive. It wasn't bad. You know what? You can say your stuff. I'm going to get into the bad stuff later because it is mostly bad.
Okay. But yeah, I have mine in many bullet points so I can find my place here. But for me personally, the episode, my opinion hasn't really changed too much on it. I still think it was a decent opener, and I feel like it set up the characters in ways that, for an opener, were decent. I enjoyed most of the characters, although I did find certain aspects and traits to be a bit annoying in hindsight. But in the moment for that episode on its own, I think they were fun to watch. They were enjoyable, and as you said, the setups were there, and they offered potential.
They happened.
Yeah. I admit, now because I've had a chance to actually listen to the score now, I take back that I do think the music is decent. It's
bad. No,
I think it's actually quite good. I still think the main Doctor Who theme is the biggest highlight for me this season in terms of music scores. But listening to the soundtrack on its own, it can be a lot of fun. It's just a shame that a lot of it is tied to bad episodes. But I feel like for the opener, it had some decent music selections, and I'm
glad you started with the music because I've got a lot to say about that. So please continue on your points, and then I'll get into that.
Cool. But yeah, among my other points, I did enjoy the fact that Grace died. She was.
You like that? Okay.
Yeah. Again, it was good setup for the potential storylines they could have gone with, and it was cool that they killed off a character early on to say, yeah, we're gonna kill some people off. We're not
We're
Game
going
of
to kill
Thrones,
the
but
best
at least,
character off.
yeah, but we're not Game of Thrones, but we're at least gonna show that there's some stakes. At least
Yeah.
we hoped.
For this take.
I just feel like she would have been an extra bag to handle for the TARDIS team. So it's good that they dealt with her in a way that was.
She would have been a good sort of Jackie, though. She would have been a good recurring character that stays at home. If you know what I mean. I mean, she kind of was, sort of.
Yeah, maybe, but I feel like this was a nice way that was different from what you expect.
Yeah.
'Cause again, I think we were all expecting a Jackie Tyler's character, but we didn't, which was nice. And yeah, for what she had to offer in her debut episode, Jodie I think did a great job. Considering it was the episode where she was meant to be all balmy and cuckoos for the setups to how we would view a Doctor, she did them all right, and I found them a bit funny at points. In hindsight now, compared to the rest of the series, it more just reminds me of how it goes, but we can get to them. But in isolation for that episode, it was good, and it was fun. For the episode overall, in my opinion... Yeah. Oh yeah, and the villain. How can we forget the villain? Well, yeah,
Tim Shaw.
We did forget the villain, actually, because...
Scary.
Yeah, he's not scary.
Tooth Man. The Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, I'll give you this one, mate. I think I was being too kind to him in the first impressions video because, yeah, in hindsight, he's not really good, and he is kind of goofy, and I still think in the suit he looks good, but without the mask.
I thought the opposite. I thought even with his suit on, he just looked like he was going to play paintball. I didn't think he looked like a classic Doctor Who villain like the Silence. Like that was a new introduction, and they look amazing. Like I love the design of that.
Yeah, or better yet, the Silence were actually built up.
yeah. But he's got a little mask on, and his face is blue with teeth in it. It's not that creative.
Yeah, but again, all that aside, for me overall, I enjoyed the opening episode. It didn't exceed expectations, and it wasn't on par with previous openers that they've done. But I feel like it wasn't disappointing, and it did lay the groundwork for potentials that they could do down the line.
Yeah, as a first episode, it wasn't bad. You know, it was like compared to the rest of the series, it left you wanting more, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
For a beginning episode, and it did introduce everybody, and Jodie and the TARDIS. Oh, no, it didn't. Not the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what annoyed me. Yeah, that's what annoyed me. It didn't have the TARDIS in, and it didn't start with the opening credits.
Yeah.
That was kind of different.
But yeah, so is there anything you'd like to add for episode 1 at least?
I don't like how the Doctor survived. You know, the falling out of the TARDIS. She just sort of landed and she was fine.
Yeah, and again, acknowledging our mistake. I think because you actually brought up in the video, but I didn't catch on at the time. But yeah, we did find out later on that apparently she was, well, at least I found out according to Wikipedia, that she the reason she did survive is because she was in a regeneration cycle still, so she was able to heal from the fall. But still, it's. Again, when you're a classic fan and you watch how high Tom Baker fell, it does still kind of feel, yeah, you're cheating there, because you died, and how are you not dead? But yeah, so yeah, if there's nothing else, we can go on to episode 2 next. Do you want to?
Yep, sure.
Cool. So yeah, episode 2, the Ghost Monument, and truthfully, on first viewing, I actually liked this episode quite a lot. In hindsight now, after giving it some time and watching it a few more times, it feels more like an extension of episode 1. I feel like this should have been a 2-hour opener, like a TV movie. They should have done a big 2-hour film epic of sorts, where it was all about the Doctor and the team basically doing what they did in episode 1, but then continue it on into episode 2, and maybe cut some of the dialogue bits and some of the long walk bits, because this episode I found to be very talkative, and there was a lot of tell don't show, which kind of got very annoying. I mean the moments where Jodie's talking about the flesh eating water, when I think they could have easily just shown, they could have gone a random extra to just walk by and maybe try and threaten them, and they could have fallen in. Again,
I mean, it's not even a difficult effect to pull off. Just put some water with some blood in it.
maybe, or better, you actually just give us some effort and actually show a guy getting dissolved. But then again, that would be going beyond Doctor Who's comfort, I guess. But yeah, this episode felt very. It pretty much felt like an extension of episode 1, which to some I guess wouldn't be too bad, but I feel like this definitely should have been part of a one big story that kind of set up everything and got us prepared for the rest of the series. I feel like the scene with Ryan running. I feel like
Running and gunning.
I feel like Ryan's gun rush scene was funny in the moment.
I like that. Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah, it's quite funny, but also it does kind of contradict his character in some ways, I think, because episode 1 did kind of set him up to be this kind of very, not shy, but very reclusive character, especially with his dyspraxia. So I kind of thought they were going to continue that throughout the series, and where he'd be reluctant to do certain things to ensure his own safety or to ensure his own comfort, and then he'd grow to be more. He'd learn and grow to be more confident of himself and the adventures he's going through. But this episode, straight off the bat, oh, I've got a gun, let me shoot them Call of Duty style.
Yeah, that does seem a sort of theme throughout the season, and it's just like they brought something up in the first episode for a couple different things, and they just didn't pay it off.
Yeah,
like the dyspraxia thing. They never bring that up again, except for that episode where he's going to climb a ladder.
Yeah,
and the last episode where it says, "Oh, for a boy with dyspraxia, that was pretty good." They just never sort of did anything with it.
Yeah, if they did it smart, they would have actually done an episode where the conflict involved him having to overcome his dyspraxia, or at the very least try and deal with it that in a way that helps them get through the
throughout
plot.
the series, that's how he develops as a character, because he overcomes it, or whatever. But like I said, they introduced a couple of things. In the first episode they introduced the concept that Graham has got cancer, but they never bring it up again.
Yeah,
and it just sort of like that was a plot point for that episode, and then never again.
Yeah. I will say this though: the moment between Ryan and Graham was nice. That moment where they talk about race. I feel like we'll be saying this a lot. Every scene that has Ryan and Graham talking together about Grace throughout this series, I think they're great moments. So I guess I'll count this for every moment that subsequently happens with these two. The moments where they talk about family and their mortality and family and all that jazz, they're fun to watch, they're nice, they're entertaining, and it's, in the moment, they're very charming scenes. But that's the thing, they're only charming scenes. They don't make the rest of the episode good.
It seems disconnected from Doctor Who. It's just that it's like as if that was its own program about family, and then just with Doctor Who, every other scene.
Yeah,
that's what I felt anyway.
I feel that Chibnall has great talents in writing. There are perfect examples in Broadchurch alone, and I think these scenes hold that nugget of gold. However, the rest of the episodes just don't pull on par. But yeah,
you bring up Broadchurch. The part of my big sort of gripe with this series is that it feels like rather than feeling like a sci-fi Doctor Who, it feels like a murder drama where everything is really depressing.
Really?
And genuinely, like, I'll bring this up later on with the specific episode I'm thinking of, so just remind me for then. But it doesn't feel like Doctor Who, but I will bring this up on the specific episode that I'm thinking of, which is like episode 8, I think. Episode 9.
Okay. Not what I expected. But yeah, sorry, getting back to the format, I guess. Episode 2. Yeah, I feel like the moments with Ryan and Graham were fun. The guest cast in this episode did fine. Again, I know one of them is actually from Broadchurch, so...
Which one's that one?
The guy...
Is it the guy?
Yeah, the guy who has, who hates Friends. But yeah, he's...
no one can hate Friends. I love Friends. Rachel and Ross.
Yeah. But yeah, he's good. He's good playing arseholes.
He's the guy who was in the tent, right?
Yeah, no, he's
Oh, the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy. I don't know the other guy. Whatever.
Yeah.
Was he from Friends?
No. You just said he hates Friends. So.
Oh, I might scratch that then. Yeah, the guest cast did good with what they were given. They weren't standouts, but they serviced the plot, and the antagonists for this episode were an interesting concept, but they weren't really handled well. I'll say this: the setup was good because
remind me what they were.
They were the rags.
Oh yeah, how terrifying.
Yeah, it's a shame actually because there's a lot you can do with concepts that sound so mundane and stupid. I mean, again, the Daleks are basically pepper pots with plungers, so you can do anything.
Yeah.
But I feel like the idea with a telepathic monster being the threat of an episode could be interesting. And again, this will come back when we talk episode 9. But making them rags and having us see them, I think that just detracted from it. It was good that they set it up so we had like them all over the planet, and they said, "Oh, what are these random rag things?" That was good, but it's just a shame.
That reminded me. Have you played a game called Journey?
I've heard of it. I haven't played it though.
Because it's a very, very similar concept. You're walking through a desert, and there's lots of different, but they're not evil. They're on your side.
Oh,
but it's very similar to that. That's what I thought.
Okay, but yeah, I feel like this episode would have worked for the villains if we didn't see them. If we just were told that they were entities that existed and you could sense them, I think that would have been a bit more threatening and more mysterious. Kind of like the creature from Midnight.
What, the blanket? Oh no, that's that. No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. I was thinking of Listen. No, yeah, the Midnight one.
Oh,
Listen.
Listen.
When you didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, but for villains, they weren't really stand out. I think the only thing that really stood out was their monologue bit with the Timeless Child. And going into that, actually, the Timeless Child arc, well, more intentionally, the one scene we get this season that even hints at an arc. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm convinced this has got to be part of an arc, because it feels like a scene that's perfect for a setup for, again, a story progression that involves the Doctor. And I actually think it's the only scene this season that really has any kind of moment for the Doctor where she's generally concerned in that regard for herself. Because the one thing I noticed throughout this season is that there's never really any stakes. This is more going into the overall review, but hey, what can we do? We're just going with this. There's no real emotional stakes for the Doctor this season. When you look at the first 4 seasons,
there isn't.
Every threat was tied to the Doctor's past in the Time War. Season 5 and through 7, where they were more tied to the 11th Doctor's era and his life, his death, that kind of thing. So it was personal to him. And 12, mostly Missy and bits of the Time Lords, but that wasn't really paid off well. But in some form, every arc had this connection to the Doctor that challenged him in a way. Not every one worked, but it worked in some regards where we could say, yeah, I enjoyed this arc, or I found this arc to be interesting. I just wish they'd done this and that with them. With this arc, there is no arc. The only sliver of an arc we get is the one with Graham and Ryan trying to overcome their grief, and even then, that's not really a central focus.
Yeah, that's not an arc. That's just a character progression.
Yeah, I say character arc, but yeah, it is character progression essentially. And so this Timeless Child thing is the only thing we seem to get that stands out, at least, that sounds interesting for the Doctor.
I don't even remember that. What was that? The Timeless Child thing?
Yeah, the rags basically start probing their mind while they're trying to think of a way to get out of the situation, and they bring up this Timeless Child. And it's essentially implying that something in the Doctor's past has been buried for God knows how long, and they found it, but she immediately says, "Get out of my head," and that's it. The scene ends, and immediately people went crazy, saying, "Oh, what does this mean?" And I think the go-to one at the moment is that it's got to be involving Susan.
Yeah, everyone wants Susan to come back.
Oh yeah, we've been waiting for since 2013 to see if Susan would come back, and
I thought Susan was going to be me. As in Maisie Williams.
Never bring up that character again.
Before they cast her. After they cast her, before the season came out, I was like, they're casting Maisie Williams. That's gonna be Susan. But then it wasn't. And I was so sad.
And she wasn't. Fucking Moffat. But yeah, I think MrTARDIsreviews did a great analysis on the Timeless Child, the one scene that we got, and he gives perfect reasons for why it should be Susan. So go and watch that video if you want to figure out what I think of it, because that's pretty much what I agree with. But I think for the fact that that's only brought up one episode, Hopefully this means that season 12 can extend to that, or at the very least pay that off. But honestly, it seems like such a big moment, so why they didn't bother to continue it throughout the season, or at the very least acknowledge it was still relevant, beyond me.
It would have been, even if it wasn't an arc, it would have been interesting if they mentioned it a couple of times, so for future series they could bring it up as an arc.
Yeah, so we know that something's going to happen with this, we just don't know what yet.
And that something will carry over to the next series apart from the character.
But yeah, is there anything you want to add for the... Oh yeah, and the ending with the TARDIS.
Yeah, where she finds that was weird.
Yeah.
I thought.
Again, giving the TARDIS a shot, how it looks, how it works. I love the time vortex,
mate,
and I'm glad
the
that
time vortex is amazing. Genuinely, that's one of my biggest pros of this series is the time vortex looks amazing.
But yeah, I love the fact that we got to see the TARDIS in action in the time vortex, which is, again, I can't remember the last time they did that.
Quite a lot, and I love that. I love Matt Smith's run, but the bit I sort of got annoyed about is that you see the time vortex a couple of times, and like you never see them flying in it. But with David Tennant, you saw it loads, and this one you see it loads. But it's also it's so intricate because it's like different tunnels, and then they go into the open bit where they go into another tunnel. It's like a sort of TARDIS run motorway, but it looks. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember who they got inspiration by, but there's a YouTuber. Is it Ben something? But he makes visual effects, sort of his own stuff for Doctor Who, and I'm pretty sure he was the one who sort of came up with the time vortex for Capaldi's run, or like the clocks thing.
Yeah, he made a fan video of it, and the team behind Doctor Who liked it so much they asked him to come on and do a rough version for it so they could use that for the basics. And he went to the premiere of Deep Breath, and he met Louise Jameson, who played Leela in the classic series. And when the episode aired, and once they saw the intro, she told him, "You did good, kid."
Nice. But yeah, I think they got inspiration from his videos for the time vortex, because he's done a time vortex that's very, very similar. This sort of like, it looks amazing, and it's very sort of messes with your brain.
Good for him. But yeah, I liked the time vortex. However, the TARDIS, I'm not gonna lie, I don't like the design. It looks too...
It's horrible.
I feel like it looks too rough and edgy. Not rough and edgy. It looks too rough and mean, per se.
It's too small for my liking. It seems cramped.
Yeah, the 11th and 12th Doctor's TARDISes showed a great amount of scale, and it did feel like a ship that was bigger on the inside. With this console room feels more like the Tennant era, where it was just this one room, and they just walked off the camera side. They just walked off camera to say, "Oh, we've gone into another room now." And I think we can give that one a pass because it was like the first console room we had for the new era.
But that was also big. Like, that was actually pretty substantial. This is very, very tiny.
Yeah,
it's like a bedroom.
Doesn't also help that it's also very dark and
that the pillars are massive. Like the sort of orange crystal pillars. They're so thick you can barely see anyone.
You know, honestly, if in another universe, I guess, if this show was a lot more darker and they committed to continuing that arc that they discarded back in like the classic series of the Doctor becoming the Valiard in his 13th regeneration, I think this would have been a perfect TARDIS if that was the tone they were going for. But the season's pretty much meant to be all cheerful and upbeat and with a quirky Doctor, and this console room does not fit the Doctor, in my opinion.
No. It would have been a good master console as the master of the TARDIS.
I feel this is like the Missy TARDIS we never got.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is that I do like that they kept a variation of the scanner screen on the wall, which is nice, because I did miss that they got rid of that for 12's era.
Yeah, well, I was literally watching the New Year's special and they had that, but it's not even a screen; it's just like a projection, and I don't like that. I prefer if it was like a screen, like Matt Smith's first TARDIS.
Yeah, I still think Matt Smith's TARDIS is the best one we had because it's
his first one.
Yeah, his first one, the orange one. It's the one that basically felt like home per se, but it was a clear ship. With every other one, it was kind of like, oh, it's clearly alien, clearly trying to be different, And with 13's one, it just feels like it's tonally different compared to the rest of the series and the format they're trying to go with.
The only part of the new TARDIS that I do actually, I don't not really like, but I think it's quite cute, is that there's a little TARDIS, like a little crystal TARDIS, and I kind of really I like that. I'd like to get one of them.
Yeah,
I'd like to have a little white TARDIS spinning around.
Talking about the controls, I really don't like that they're mostly pull and shove things.
The rest of them is horrible, but the little TARDIS I like.
Yeah, the little spinny thing, it looks nice, but I wish that was like a separate ornament on the side, maybe like a grandfather clock or something, because I liked the fact that in the old consoles you could have buttons, you could have levers and oh shit, sorry, there goes my notes. But yeah, I liked that it felt like a console, and every other TARDIS prior to that was also clearly the controls of a ship. This one feels like it's more pulled together from a junkyard, literally. And it does feel like, how are you piloting this to go through places of sorts? And even the telepathic circuits, the one in the 12's TARDIS looks very organic and kind of weird. So it makes sense to be part of the telepathic circuits of the TARDIS. With this one, it's literally just like, you put the watch on something, you put the watch on a corner of the desk, and immediately that's meant to be the new whatever. But yeah, moving along from the TARDIS, because again, inconsistent with our format here, I guess. But hey, we'll just go as it goes. The Ghost Monument overall, it's an okay episode, but it wasn't memorable for me. I feel like it had pros, but it's also filled with quite a few cons. Mainly the fact that it takes too long, the fact that we have stormtroopers essentially working in for the bad guys for the first half of it, and then the main bad guys are just rags. Again, it opens the doors for potential stuff to come down the line, but considering that it doesn't pay off in Series 11, does feel kind of like just a moment that just shoved in. The scene with the TARDIS is nice, but how it looks, I was expecting a lot more. What about you?
I didn't like the concept that the TARDIS is the Ghost Monument. I just was like, okay, but I did like the premise of the episode. I liked that it was an intergalactic battle to the death goose chase. I did like that sort of concept. Just they didn't, present it in a good way. But that's my thoughts on the episode.
Yeah, I guess maybe if they were a bit more brutal and showed more of the world being a danger,
or if it was more exciting, or like they did more stuff. They had to do challenges that were actually interesting.
Yeah.
Rather than going on a ship for,
and then,
or like a boat
another
for half an hour.
Another thing, just so I get it off my chest, the fact it still bugs me how this episode is meant to take place literally after the woman who fell to earth. Yet the Doctor pulls out some sunglasses and has a throwaway line saying, "Oh, I got these from so and so."
Yeah.
How is
I
that?
had trouble with that.
Yeah,
maybe it was a past regeneration.
How can it be? Because she established that she had empty
she's got a
pockets
new
in the
coat.
opener.
Oh yeah. What a bastard.
Damn it,
yeah, like if they'd have done it like I think how Matt Smith did his is like as soon as he got his new TARDIS, he sort of kicked it in, ran it in for a bit, and then went to get Amy. That made sense.
Yeah, but the fact that this episode literally begins where the last one left off, there's no excuse for how she would have those when she literally said, "Oh, I've got nothing in my pockets, no screwdriver."
And there was so many throughout the entire series. There was like moments like that. It was like, "Oh, I did this," and I'm like, "Did you do that, or did the other Doctor did that? Because I don't think you did, because you didn't do nothing else."
Yeah, this season does.
Liar.
This season, thankfully, doesn't rely too much on callbacks, but it does. Again, it is noticeable, and I guess for some that is fun just to recall. But at the same time, it's just reminded me, we could be watching better episodes. But yeah, if that's all with episode 2, we're walking over to episode 3 now. So, Rosa, technically the first historical episode we've had since Vincent and the Doctor, I believe. What do you think of this episode, mate?
Honestly, this is probably the best episode in the series because it is such apart from the villain, it had such a great premise, and the way they executed it, it felt like America in the 50s. It felt like it, and they went so historically accurate, and it was so tense and so like jaw clenching. I don't know the line, but it was such a well executed episode. Apart from the weird villain who is a racist in the future, that was a bit like, I get his motives. He's racist, but he's in the future where I would presume everyone is not racist anymore because it's the future. And
well, I guess the implication is that racism will never end. So there's always someone out there who will always hold the other race in a degree of lessonness.
But surely in the future, like in the distant future, everyone's just gotten off with everyone else. So there's no, you know, if you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but
so there's no just white people.
Yeah, but even in past episodes of Doctor Who, they've established that when humans meet other races, even they become prejudiced to humans, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's not out of complete plausibility. And I do another recurring thing I noticed this season is that they tried to bring a lot of topics that are kind of current with the times, which is
racism.
Yeah, we're getting to more of those in the next episode actually, but with this episode, it was basically trying to educate us on the history of Rosa Parks and the bus boycott of 55. And I actually think it did a good job. And
it did.
In hindsight, compared to the rest of the episodes this season, I think this is the best one they've done.
Yeah, definitely.
But I still think it has flaws. But
definitely.
For me personally, this episode was a lot of fun to watch. The characters were likable. It was great to see. I don't know who the actress is, but she played the actress who played Rosa Parks. She did a great job, a fantastic job. And again, honestly, I'm surprised that I don't know if she's in anything else very memorable or anything else. Maybe she's from another show that I don't watch. Is very acclaimed, but I think she seems like one of those actresses that they got on because of her star power. And
I don't think
she
so.
did a great job. And if not,
I don't think it was a star power. I think it was just because she was a good actress.
And if that's the case, then good to her. I hope she gets a big series that has a big name to it, because she did great. But
I think she's English.
Oh, is she?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, good. Go Brits. But yeah, I also think this episode had quite a few nice moments with the characters. Mainly that moment with Graham and Yaz. Again, it also kind of leaves the door open for their relationship to develop down the line.
Which moment was you talking about?
When they're behind the dustbin and they're hiding from the policeman.
Okay, I don't remember that bit, but okay.
Yeah, it's basically them talking about racism and things will get better.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember.
But yeah, I think it's a nice little moment between the two, and it doesn't really build up for the rest of the show rest of the series outside of another scene that comes up in the episode 5 or something. But I think that if they ever do consider getting those two together as a couple, or if they just remain good friends, I think this is a nice moment just for that, if they want to.
I do definitely commend the BBC for taking, I'm not sure if it was taking risks, but just being bold and not shying away from the truth and history. The amount of times that it was just shocking, like the sort of the racism from the 50s.
Yeah,
it was actually shocking. Like when Ryan tapped the lady on the shoulder and the guy just full on smacks him in the face.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I know Doctor Who hasn't shied away from certain things before, but I don't recall the last time they had an episode where Doctor Who. Oh yeah, it has done too. But again, I can't remember which episode, but I know Doctor Who has done some stuff before that has warranted. Oh, is that something you'll have to show on TV, especially on the BBC? But I think this is definitely a moment that made me go, "Oh wow, they really are going out."
And the language, I'm not going to repeat it because I don't like to. Oh no, it's black in Spanish. Yeah, Negro. That's black in Spanish. Okay, I can. Yeah, when they say that, they say it quite a lot, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I think they have said that before.
They do say that.
Again, it's
I'm not in Doctor Who though.
Moments.
Not in Doctor Who, unless they've speaking Spanish.
Yeah, I think one character might have said it in an episode or so, but yeah, it's awkward in the moment. But honestly, it's nice to know that they didn't shy away from it.
Yeah, I commend them for being bold and showing the truth.
Yeah, it's a fun story to watch because again, we were taught about this when we were in school, so it's nice to see it play out in one of our favorite shows. My only criticism is that I did get the sense that it was leaning too far on their side of the story, if that makes sense.
Who said?
I'll put it this way: I feel like in that moment where you see Rosa Parks' husband, I feel like they should have given a moment with him and had Ryan talk to him and maybe give his views on the times and his opinions on racism, because predominantly the cast of this episode, at least the majority of the cast that we were meant to like, were black, and that's not a problem. But I do feel that this season in general, has been hit a lot with criticisms on social justice warriors and political correctness. And one of the things they did target was the fact that they were tackling racism and how you're talking too much on the side of the blacks, or whatever. Again, people have their criticisms, but I
haven't heard that criticism, because I don't think it's a valid one.
But... I know, but I do feel that this does show more of their side, which is understandable. Of course, it's expected, because at the times, again, we were idiots. But
I mean, that's literally the point of the episode, though.
Yeah, but I also feel like, again, as the husband, for example, not everyone was a racist bastard. So it would have been nice if they maybe showed some other white guys being helpful. Heck, maybe even had a white guy come up to Ryan along with Rosa Parks or something, and he just walks away off after she starts talking to them. Again, nothing.
I mean, they don't really need to, because we don't need to say that. No. Like they don't need to just go, white people are okay as well.
No, they don't need to. But I just feel like it's a small thing they could have added that kind of says to the audience, yeah, we're not trying to make you all white guys alienated. We're not trying to say you're all bastards, because I like to think, again, I don't know, because I wasn't born back then, but I'd like to think that not everyone was, again, a bastard back then.
No, not everyone was racist.
Yes, but this episode just felt like every white guy was a bastard.
That was the normality, because it was like black people sit at the back or wherever it was. Yeah. But it was like everything was segregated. That was the norm back then. So lots of people definitely were, and to bring to sort of have a character who was sort of okay. I think that's just sort of fictionalizing it. If you know, if you that's not a word, but if you know what I mean.
To an extent, I guess, but at the same time, I just also feel like that opened the door for a lot of people who wanted to complain about racism in Doctor Who. I just feel like, that's become a focal point now if they wanted to. But I feel like that was just something I had to acknowledge in the review, because I didn't find a problem with that in the rest of the episode. What I did have a problem with was the villain. Because, again, another pattern that goes with this series, the villains aren't memorable, and this guy... Again, his motivation is literally because he's a racist.
Yeah.
And the
racist future man.
Other than the fact that he's from Storm Cage, which was a nice reference to River Song, but other than that, really, he doesn't really offer anything to the table, and there's no connection between him or the Doctor. And another reviewer brought this up, I can't remember who, but the fact that he can recognise a TARDIS but doesn't recognise the Doctor, I found it to be quite annoying, because, again, we know that from previous seasons the Doctor has hidden his identity, has discarded herself from the universe, so no one knows who she is, or if she's even alive. So, again, it's not out of the realm to think that TARDISes are known still throughout the universe. But I just feel like a bit odd that you would recognise the TARDIS, but not the Doctor, who is the one who's most famous for having the TARDIS.
Yeah, well, this is a new Doctor. She was new, so I think that is fine to not recognise her, because she's literally just been born, I guess. You know what I mean?
No, but the Doctor himself has been around for years.
Well, yeah, but the Doctor's now got a different face, so I would have. It makes sense for them not to realise who it is, because it's a different person.
If you see Kit Harington's car running by, you'd recognise that as Kit Harington.
Yeah,
that's a weird comparison.
Because I know what Kit Harington looks like, but if Kit Harington got a different face, I wouldn't recognise him.
No, but if you saw him next to the TARDIS, you'd immediately think, "Oh, is he the Doctor now?"
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. If I saw someone who was Kit Harington with a face next to a sword, I wouldn't be like, "It's Kit Harington." I'd be like, "That's someone next to Jon Snow's sword."
Oh, never mind. But yeah, that's a small thing that bugged me, but. Again, it doesn't overweight my overall opinion on the episode, but I did think that the villain was very weak, which was a shame. The other thing was that this is a flaw that comes with a lot of historical episodes, really, and it's just that they have to stay truthful in some areas if they want to, because when it comes to those episodes, the companions and the Doctor, they either have to impact the plot somehow so that they cause it, or they just are there for the ride. And this one, it was definitely more on the lines of, they're altering it so that it plays out the way it does, which was nice. But at the same time, it also didn't leave a lot of room for twists and interesting stuff to happen. So it does feel like they were just there for the ride to an extent.
But to me, it was a really good part of the episode where they were on the same bus as Rosa Parks as she refused to sit down or stand up. And they just had to stay there and not do anything. I thought that was such an impactful part of the episode. It was, and that's what I said. It was really tense. That was the bit that was really tense.
Yeah, I didn't really feel that tension because we know it's going to happen. So it's
but I just thought it could, because the doctor's like, the bit we didn't know about is the doctor was there and couldn't do anything about it. That's the bit to me that was like, wow.
Yeah. Overall thoughts, I think this episode is the best out of the new season so far, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot more than the previous two ones. Again, the main flaw really was just the villain. He should have had a more deeper motivation, I guess. Yeah. What do you think?
It was a bit. Honestly, I can't remember. Like, apart from him wanting to change history so black people wouldn't get as much recognition as they do because they're humans. He didn't really have a proper motive. Did he have like? I think was his motive like?
I mean, his
black people kill my family or something like that.
No, his backstory is literally that he killed people, a lot of people, so he's a bad guy. And he went to Stormcage, and they did something to him so he can't kill people, but he can alter history to make sure things are more suitable. So I guess the excuse is that he did bad things, so he's racist as well. That makes him a bad guy.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just, and he didn't have a very menacing appearance, or his voice wasn't menacing, or it was just sort of 50s greaser with a British accent.
Yeah, he just walked off the set of Grease.
Yeah, but he's English. I was like, okay.
I guess they were finally doing that British reboot. But yeah,
long awaited.
Yeah, decent episode.
Yeah,
next.
very good episode, I think.
But yeah, so this is where we get to. Honestly, I think this is. Oh boy. Okay, let's just. Arachnids in the UK.
Oh, great.
Do you want to start with this one, mate?
Sure. It felt very much like an episode of Primeval.
Really?
Do you remember? Yeah, because do you remember because I haven't seen it in such a long time, but it's because the effects were just like looked very Primeval, and it was like, oh, big spiders.
I'll give you that. That is fair, but don't you dare compare this to Primeval, because that is a good show.
No, yeah. I do apologise. No, the beginning of this episode, and the guy who was supposed to be like Donald Trump or whatever it was, naff. I didn't like it. Lots of this episode revolved around Yaz's family. Okay, 1, I don't like Yaz as a character. 2, I don't give a crap about her family. Please go away.
Yeah, the family subplot really doesn't go anywhere outside of the minor excuse that so apparently your father was right about this conspiracy. But again, how does that tie into the rest of the plot? They don't even clean up the sewage or something, or whatever the thing is that caused the spiders to get big.
Yeah, toxic waste makes big spiders apparently, because that's comic books or something.
I read apparently that episode was heavily researched, so a lot of the stuff they said in that it could be true. I don't know how true that is, but
nah.
Yeah,
I think they probably found like, toxic waste makes things slightly bigger. And let's make them massive.
And we need an excuse to make this guy a bad guy even more, other than the fact that he looks like Donald Trump.
Yeah, other than the fact that he just owns hotels and chucks rubbish away. What does he do? He's a landfill? I don't know.
And he wants to be president. Even though they're apparently meant to be in England, I think, or Sheffield.
Yeah, they're supposed to be in Sheffield. Person, and he has hotels everywhere.
I mean, I know the actor's American, but I don't know.
I think he's supposed to be an American person. It's just he's like very rich and he has places everywhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I
guess. Like Trump, who has a golf course in Scotland.
But yeah,
I think.
For me personally, I was let down with this episode. This was meant to be the episode where the companions would make their final choice if they wanted to continue travelling with the Doctor or not. And I feel like they missed the mark greatly with this one, because it's there in small scenes. The moment with Grace and Graham, when they're in their house and he's contemplating his life with her and how she's not there anymore, that's wonderful. And even the moment where they have a brief scene where they're talking about Ryan's dad and he says, "Oh, I got a letter from him. He wants me to meet back with him." Wonderful small scene. And it kind of sets up potential future conflicts down the line if they wanted to. Which they don't, but we'll get to that. but again, those small scenes were nice. And even, as you said, the CGI was decent. It's better than what we got last season with all the others. And
that weird, like, dragon monster.
Yeah,
that was terrible.
And the River Thames monster. Moving along from series 10, the spiders with this were great. But
were they?
Yeah, they were decent for a spider that's meant to be the size of a dog.
I mean, yeah, they looked fine, but the concept of them being there was just
the concept itself is stupid. I think what they should have done is they should have had them be either spiders from Metabolus 3, or they should have been another version of spiders from an alternative dimension or something.
Yeah, they should have been the villain. They should have been evil spiders, but they weren't. They were just spiders who were big because of humans, and now they just want to breathe or something.
Yeah, yeah. So can I go off my notes here? But for me personally, I feel like this episode was too political. Again, I feel, again, probably shouldn't say this, but quite frankly, I want to get off my chest. I feel so glad that I'm not an American, because I would be pissed if I watched this episode. I mean, imagine we've grown up watching this show since it came back in 2005, over 10 years. Say what you will about your opinion on the show, or how you view it. But for me, this is my childhood show. This is something I grew up. This is something I'll be growing up with my kids when I'm older. I'll be showing them this show for a long time. I mean, so to have an episode go out of its way to deal with politics in this way and satirize, let's be honest, not really a good guy, or the most likable guy in the world, and then just go out of its way to vilify him as well. It's very awkward.
It wasn't great.
It just didn't need to happen. He could have been any other character. Heck, he could have even been just a businessman. But they had to go out of the way and acknowledge that, he not only hates Trump, but he's Trump in every way, even his mannerisms. The worst bit for me is that moment where he's basically talking about guns. Get a gun, shoot things.
I mean, he was that. Yeah, that's very American. But his motives for that specific bit, get a gun and shoot it, because everyone's going to die otherwise. Just kill it instantly.
Maybe, but
that's the sort of complaint I found about this episode recently. It's what sort of person is this doctor trying to be? Because it's like, don't get a gun. We don't use guns. We're not going to shoot them. We'll just put them in a room and they'll starve to death. What?
Yeah.
What are you trying to prove here? You're trying to prove that you're good by making them have a longer death? What's your game?
Yeah, I feel like this episode was trying to have its political moments, but at the same time also trying to push those character moments, but they didn't really pay off in the end because it was just so jumbled.
Exactly.
But among my other notes, Yaz's family subplot, in terms of the actors, they weren't bad, but they could have been utilised a lot more.
Or not at all. I prefer not at all.
Yeah. And as you said, the ending with the spiders is disappointing because it's just so... It should have been a more bigger moment for the Doctor. What they should have done is revamp this entire episode. What they should have done is made this episode Doctor Light. The Doctor should have literally left at the beginning of the episode, so we think, that's the end of it, they're not travelling with him. And Graham should have gone back home. Maybe Ryan goes to visit Yaz, and maybe through Ryan's eyes, we could see that Yaz has trouble with her family at home. Maybe they could have had some conflicts. Maybe Yaz has conflicts with her mother. She doesn't like her sister, and her dad, she loves him, but he's goofy or something. But I think the central focus of this episode should have been about Graham and him coping with the life that he has now without Grace. And I think that's when they could have introduced the spiders, and they could have shown them more of a scale of a threat. Because in the episode itself, we don't even get a scale of how this invasion is happening, because they say on computer screens that they're taking over London. They say they're taking over London, but we never see it outside of that small apartment scene and the hotel. So they should have utilised more of a threat for the actual town, for Sheffield.
Yeah,
But yeah, the episode could have had the companions try and figure out how they would deal with the situation without the Doctor, and then maybe I don't know, since Yaz is a police officer, maybe she could have called in some friends of hers to help her with the police force, because that actually would have brought her police job back into the plot.
But the sort of class stereotype of that character is that she's going to call in for backup, and they're not going to believe her, because that's what they always do. That's the same cliche that they've used all the time.
Yeah, but
just take a break. You're going mental.
No,
Wait,
but I think
just believe me.
I think they should have, because again, the fact that
they should have. They should have, because there's no point in introducing her as a police officer if she's not going to do anything about it.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
She's not going to be a police. Like I said with the Graham's cancer and Ryan's thingy with his legs. Like they bring it up in the first episode and then leave it. What's the point of bringing it up?
Yeah, in this episode itself, when literally a guy is pointing a gun at Yaz, she doesn't even bother to say, "I'm a police officer. You can't do that. I'll arrest you."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they writ her just as a police officer just for the opening episode, and for the rest of the season, she's just a normal girl. What is it? She works in the shop. But yeah, they should have had the episode focus just on the companions and given us an idea of how they deal with it without the Doctor. Maybe Yaz would have found a way. I don't know. Maybe she likes spiders or something. I don't know. But maybe she would have wanted to put them out of their misery, but find a way to not kill them or something. And then the Doctor could have come in and mercy killed them, either by some invention she has, or maybe by the gas thing that she did have.
Yeah, or just go find some alien thing that'll make them better.
Yeah,
or that's the thing.
Again, off the top of my head, maybe just have the sonic go on a frequency that kills the spiders because they can't take the sound. And it could have been a moment where Yaz says, "Why'd you kill them?" And the Doctor could have said, "It's better this way to let them die."
Yeah, that would have been such a good moment, but apparently not.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's very conflicting because it's clearly trying to say, "Oh, he's a bad man for doing this," but at the same time, yeah, it's mercy, especially when it's suffering, and the fact
not even that. It's a threat to humanity.
Yeah.
So kill it.
And the fact that we don't even find out what happens to the other spiders, other than the fact that they were left in the closet, the locker, I assume, in the dungeon or wherever they were left, and we just assume they died.
Or something.
Yeah, we just assume they're dead. So yeah. Nice mercy there, Doctor. But yeah, and another thing. Oh my god, I hate the fact that the Doctor's using such slang words.
I kind of like that. That's the only bit of the Doctor
Really?
I do like. I like that. I think it's funny because it's like she's trying.
No, it's not.
And clearly she's failing. But I think that's the point of it. She's clearly failing at it. And she's not supposed to be doing it. And I think that's why it's good and funny.
Maybe it's just because it's such a current. Maybe it's just because it's such a current times thing. But I just feel like stuff like Alonzi and Geronimo, they weren't part of today. So I felt like they always had a timeless feel to them. So whenever the Doctor kept saying them, it felt like they were for that Doctor specifically. But because fam is such a common used word today, it just feels like, again, the showrunners are just looking through the times of, what do kids say these days? And with Jodie's Doctor, the fact that she uses it in almost every episode, it's just cringy to watch.
I kind of like that. Honestly, I wasn't going to get into this until later on, but I think I'm getting into it now. Very unpopular opinion, I don't like Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. And I've never not liked an actor for being the Doctor, if you know what I mean. But watching her throughout the series, she doesn't fit the role. If you know what I if you understand, the way she speaks and what she does doesn't feel doctory, and it feels like someone. It feels like when someone does their own sort of like a student film of Doctor Who, and they're being the Doctor, and it's not great. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I think I can't remember which channel it's called, but I think they did a video on this as well. That kind of summed it up as well. But I'm sure people will know what I'm talking about. But I do agree. I feel like Jodie's Doctor doesn't really feel defined. Again, out of order, sorry, but hey, we're not professionals, so we'll just go as we go. But I feel like Jodie's Doctor is very by the numbers. She's got the surface trademarks of a Doctor, being goofy, funny, kind of charming. However, they're not the ones that stand out as her Doctor, because every Doctor has had charm or has goofy moments. Even Capaldi, who is at least considered the most serious Doctor we've had for his first season at least. Even he had some goofy moments in his first season. With Jodie, it just feels like, oh, we just took the basics of every Doctor and put them in this one tray. If you go to the Doctor Who Wikipedia page and actually look up her personality, it literally has the lines, oh, she took on her former incarnation's words to heart, so she is never cruel or cowardly. And nice that you kind of continued that continuity thread, but at the same time, it doesn't really leave a lot of room, because the one thing that I hate that she doesn't do this season is have any outburst Doctor moments. An example I can give that's coming up in Witchfinders, but I'll say it now because what the heck with it. But that moment where she's basically confronting the witches or whatever in the tree stump, and she's basically got to be angry, saying, "Back into your cell, get back now. You can't have this planet or whatever." She just doesn't deliver it with any force of threateningness, even if that's a word.
All of her monologues, they seem very forced.
Yeah,
they don't seem natural.
Yeah, it felt like the writers were just trying to get the plot out by also getting the exposition out with the Doctor, and it just doesn't feel like, if it doesn't feel like character for the Doctor, it just feels like you're explaining things to us, we're not getting it, but it's you saying it, so it must be good.
Yeah, like with old Doctors, if they like said exposition, they'd have said it with some form of gusto and like it'd be interesting. But it seems every single time she says anything like that isn't sort of witty banter, it's just the same sort of sort of droning monologue. It's just sort of the same tone, and it's not. And I don't like her delivery.
Yeah. Again, when you watch David Tennant scolding a father in The Idiot's Lantern, you can tell it's the David Tennant Doctor. Or when Matt Smith is scolding Colonel Runaway for his treatment of his companions, yeah, that is a Matt Smith moment. Even, again, as much as I hate the episode, even the Capaldi moment in Invasion of the Zygons, the Zygon inversion, where he's basically scolding everyone about the scales of war, that is very much rooted in Peter Capaldi's Doctor. With Jodie, she doesn't have anything like that in this season at all. Even her Doctor Who moment in the first episode, that doesn't really... Again, it's meant to be the moment where she says, "I am the Doctor." In hindsight, it really doesn't feel like it. It just feels like you have to say that because it's the first episode.
But it also happens every single episode. There's always a monologue that isn't interesting. Like Matt Smith's in the Pandorica, was it the Pandorica Opens? Yeah, the Pandorica Opens when he does like his speech, saying, "I will protect," what was he saying? It's like, "Put your guns down" or whatever. Talking on Stonehenge. That's such a great like monologue, and it's a great speech. But every single speech that Jodie does is like,
yeah, it's just very flat, and it just doesn't stand out.
It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it really hurts her Doctor. It really hurts the series. So, but yeah, getting back to topic really. Arachnids in the UK, I did not enjoy, and it's a wasted episode really, especially with what is essentially being the episode that sets up the companions to stay on full time. So could have been a whole lot better. Again, there's some moments in it that are nice, but again, wasted opportunity really. But then going back to what you said about long monologues, the Tsuranga Conundrum, or whatever the name is, the episode is, episode 5. I'll just call it episode 5.
Episode 5.
Yeah, this is another boring one for me, because again, kind of going off, it was around this time actually that I started doing a few night shifts for work, so I had to stop watching a few episodes so I could keep up with work routine, and after Arachnids in the UK, I couldn't continue watching for a while, because I just felt so disappointed, so I had to wait until at least the Witchfinders to get back into watching the rest of the episodes, and I'm glad I waited, because honestly this episode isn't any gooder. It isn't any good.
Gooder?
Yeah, it's an old word, I get it. But yeah, it's very, again, there's a lot happening and yet nothing's happening. It's just the characters walking on sets with long monologue speeches, and I'll give them this, the sets look great, and the actors do a fine job of what they're given with, but it's really boring, and I got really bored very fast.
Which Which episode is this one?
The one with the cute alien.
Oh, the one with the man who's pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a shit episode. So fucking boring. I'm sorry for swearing, but it's just so boring.
Yeah. I don't know why they had to have a pregnant guy in the episode, other than the fact that it was maybe... I don't know. Because it was Alien.
Yeah.
I'll say this. That one moment where he basically talks about his fear of being a dad, for Ryan's character, that was a nice scene. And the scene he shares with Yaz after that is nice. Again, building characters for those two at least. But it's a small scene in an episode of shit, essentially. It's not really good. And the moments with Graham when he's having quips about, I want to call the midwife, I know what to do. Oh, but I thought you said you know what to do. Well, I turned away at the gruesome bits. That's fun. But yeah, and the other thing, the scene where the actual doctor scolds the doctor for being erratic and risking the lives of everyone else on the ship so she can just deal with the situation herself. I did like that bit because it's nice to see other characters take authority and sometimes put the doctor in their place. Because I can guarantee you, people probably got angry at that. But I like it when the doctor does go out of line sometimes and she needs to learn a lesson. But the rest of the episode is just very meh. And the alien, I'll say this, the alien itself, CGI wise, this episode definitely feels like this is where all the budget went. But
no, not at all.
Yeah,
Definitely.
This alien, in terms of CGI, it looks very realistic. However,
really.
Its design and the fact that it's so adorable just does not fit with what they were setting up, and that is not what I enjoyed about it.
No, I think it looked like something from Aliens in the Attic. You know, that terrible. I like that.
Never seen.
But it just looked like a sort of 2000s stupid. It looked like Crazy Frog. It was like Crazy Frog. It's stupid. I hate it.
Nah, I think this is better looking.
Good design.
If this is Crazy Frog, this is definitely a better looking Crazy Frog than that music video. But I feel like the creature itself didn't need to be in this episode because it's, again, they're setting this thing up to be this threatening monster that's apparently very dangerous to the universe. But it looks so cute and tiny, and you want to pinch his cheeks. No, I want to kick it outside the door.
And they get rid of it so easily when you're not supposed to be able to touch it.
Yeah, it's not very threatening. And that's the main problem with it. It's meant to be an episode that's kind of meant to build up tension, I guess. Also considering how everyone else is dealing with the situation, but it doesn't because it's just so adorable. You just want to cuddle it, and I didn't enjoy it.
Not really. I don't want to cuddle that. It's a bit slimy in it.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't a good episode for me, and I'm glad I missed out. I'm glad I didn't watch it when it aired. What about you?
I don't really have much to say about this one. I didn't like it, and it was stupid. That's really it, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was a filler episode, definitely.
Oh yeah. So yeah, going on to the next one actually. God damn, it's already an hour in, I think. But yeah, we'll don't worry about that. We'll try and get through the rest of these ones. So yeah, going on to the next one, The Demons of Punjab. Another historical episode. What?
Punjab.
Punjab?
Yes. No, Punjab. There's a B in it.
Okay. Yeah.
Pronounce the B.
Yeah, me and my words. I actually enjoyed this episode a lot more than the previous one.
Yeah, this was a better episode than the bad one, but it was it didn't really resonate with me, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I get the sense that this episode was meant to be more about more about Yaz's character, but really it just felt Yaz centric rather than focused on Yaz as a character. Because it's meant to be it's part of her family, but it's also just Yaz finding out about her family. It doesn't really impact her in a greater way that affects the rest of the series or the other characters. It just feels like a moment for the character and not a moment for the character that has conflicts in the long run or repercussions in the long run. But I think for an episode that's meant to be filler, I think it was good. I did like that it was historical again. It's nice to continue what they're doing with Rosa. They did another good historical episode. But I also wish that it was a bit more on a bigger scale, if that makes sense. because we never see any of the big. Again, I don't know history so well, so I don't know how the Punjab event, the real Punjab event played out. But I feel like they could have shown a lot more of that, because really, when you think about it, the entire episode is literally just set on this house of this land, and in a forest, and they really just talk about the events of the. Again, whatever. I'm terrible with history, but I feel like they could have shown a lot more of that. I think, to kind of get across how bad things are, I guess, and yeah, I think missed opportunity for that. I think, because it would have just shown more greater scale for the episode. The characters, though, they were a lot of fun. It was nice to see again a bit more of Yaz's family for what they could have. But I
don't like Yaz's family. I hate Yaz. I think that's the worst bit of the entire series.
Yeah,
because I don't like Yaz, and I don't care about her family and her struggles. It's not Doctor Who. It's like having family struggles is like EastEnders, not Doctor Who.
Yeah, as shown with Rose, it's good to have those things in there as long as they have.
Yeah, but Jackie was fun.
Yeah, if they're fun and have sensual elements to the plot. With these guys, they are literally there. They're basically like Clara's parents. They're just there for an episode or two, just to say, oh, they had parents, they had family. Now they're gone.
They have family as well.
Yeah.
Take a look.
Yeah.
It's rubbish.
Yeah, the small story with Yaz was fine, but again, we didn't learn much about her, and I think that was a missed opportunity. And the other thing I didn't like was the fact that the Doctor essentially allows Yaz to interfere, per se, with these events in her life. I mean, again, I've got in my notes here that they ignored the dangers of time travel. Again, they do this again later in the episode, in the season, but it's annoying that this Doctor is a lot more carefree with her rules. Because I feel like if Nine was here, he would be a bit more stern with, Yaz, you can't be talking to your mum, you can't talk to your grandmother, and all that. And it just feels like that she's more willing to let them talk to her ancestors, even though it's high risk of them. Yeah, high risk of them changing history. Again, small thing, I guess because I'm a long time fan, I guess. But outside of that, there was a nice moment between her and Graham, which was nice little tender moment, I guess. But even then, it's a small moment in an episode that's not really effective for that scene as well. The twist
to me.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, what was it? Go ahead. You go ahead.
The twist with the brother being the bad guy wasn't a surprise, because again, he was the only character that was kind of building up conflict. But what did surprise me was the aliens, because they look cool, even though if you look at them in a certain way, they can kind of look like knockoff Power Ranger villains.
It looks like in Skyrim the Daedric armor, which is like the sort of most powerful armor.
Yeah, but they looked cool. They sounded cool. And the concept of them being assassins that now turned their tails on history and on their past history, and now they work as observers for the dead. That's cool, and I wasn't expecting that. But I also think that it's a shame because, again, cool villain, cool concept. Now they're just another thing. But
bad execution. Yeah,
but it was cool that they were threatening to an extent, but their service to the plot was decent. The villain himself, expected for this kind of plot, I guess, wasn't a surprise though. We kind of knew that he would have some negative factor in the plot later on. And another thing, this is I don't know if this bothers you or not, but I feel that this Doctor. Do you get the feel that the Doctor should know everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everything, but lots of things.
Yeah, because in many words, the Doctor has seen everything twice in a way. So I kind of always had the idea that the Doctor would know most customs, most cultures, and have a loophole of how to get around them, without things feeling awkward. But I feel like the Doctor should know everything. I feel like the Doctor should know everything, but Jodie didn't. But the 13th Doctor didn't know the customs of marriage for. Sorry, it's really bugging me. Were they Muslims?
They were Muslim and Hindu.
Okay. I would have thought the Doctor would know the customs for Muslim weddings.
Hindu.
for Muslim and Hindu weddings. So I don't understand why she would go out. She would say, "Oh, I'm not really sure of this tradition." Maybe it's just because it's one of those small things that the Doctor never really encountered because
it's
it was
because
a
the
man.
Doctor is a British person.
Well, he's a British alien, but at the same time, again, in terms of in-universe, the Doctor should know these customs. I mean, there's been comics that I've read where the Doctor has friends and companions from previous lives, and they're from different cultures as well. Some even similar to now. So I would have thought that he would have grown used to them, or at the very least acknowledged them in some way. Again, small thing really compared to the rest of the episode, but again, it's the small things that kind of stand out when everything else is just kind of boring or meh. But the other thing that I think was a missed opportunity with this episode was that Yaz and the Doctor didn't have conflict. Because I feel like this is kind of like Father's Day, where they could have had the companion be selfish and try and impact her family's lives to see if she could make them better, or find out, or maybe her curiosity got the better of her. So I think that what the Doctor should have done was that once she found out that so-and-so was going to die, she should have not told anyone. She should have just said, "Oh, I didn't find out what was going on. I just know they're not bad guys." And she should have just let everything play out in some way. And then once it all happens, once the bittersweet ending comes along, Yaz could have realised that the Doctor was lying, and she could have gotten angry at her. And she could have given a big speech about how it's sad, but history needs to remain intact. We can't change things, even for our own personal gain. And again, I think that could have added more to the Doctor, because again, the Doctor's gone through these kind of things with Gallifrey, even though it's back now. So again, that would have been nice. Again, and it also adds to Yaz, because again, I'm saying again a lot, but it's true though, she's done nothing so far at this point in the series. So it would have been nice to build something with these characters and maybe put conflict between them so that could be resolved later on. What do you think?
I totally agree. Only thing is, right, I just, so far in the series, even to the end of the series, I don't find the companions compelling, except for Graham, because it's Bradley Walsh and I love Bradley Walsh. There were lots of missed opportunities, and what you've said is all, like, there could have been conflict, but I don't know what they're trying to do in this series, where there's not they're trying to add moments, but not the right moments, and they're doing it in a weird way. You know, Chibnall needs another series to sort of smooth things out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But yeah.
To see where everything's going.
So, your overall thoughts on Demons?
Not very memorable. That's what I've got, because I can't really remember much of it.
Yeah.
But the costumes were good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I did the previous one, but it's also filler to an extent, and it doesn't really give us anything new for the Doctor or the companions. So, A for effort, I guess. And honestly, looking at how far we've gotten in this review now, I think it's fitting that, considering how the episodes go from here, we should just kind of scroll through the rest, because I don't want to keep you waiting forever.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, so going on next to Kerblam.
Kerblam.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying this is the episode that was the most decent out of all of them. I kind of agree. But I also think it's...
Yeah, definitely. Because I love this episode. Probably because it was Lee Mack, and I just like Lee Mack.
Yeah, I didn't mind this episode. I was going and expecting it to be a AI takeover, and I kind of would have liked that. But it turns out that the guy is just some random kid, and he doesn't want to lose his job because of work racism or something.
So he wants to blow up everyone with bubble wrap.
Yeah, that's a bit silly. But the whole episode about going undercover and trying to find out who sent the message, that was cool. It's I always like episodes that try to have them being stealthy or trying to infiltrate certain places. It's a shame they didn't do that more often, because I think that would have been a cool thing to do with Jodie's Doctor if they made her a bit more gruff and...
Yeah, because I love that sort of stuff with David Tennant, because Matt Smith and Capaldi never really did that sort of stuff. But when Tennant sort of went undercover, he did it quite a lot, and tried to work in the thing to find out the mysteries. That stuff's fun. So that's why I think this episode is pretty good, because it didn't go back to Doctor Who tropes, but it went back to things that have happened in Doctor Who that were liked and that
Yeah.
they sort of utilized it in a good way.
Yeah. Again, another thing with the characters, Graham continues to be hilarious. His scenes are a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And even that moment where the Doctor switches roles with Grimm so that she can have more of an infiltrating role in the episode, that's just hilarious. And kind of funny and fitting considering his son's job in the warehouse before. But that girl, that shopping girl who gets killed in the end, I'll say this: I'm glad she got killed because it's nice we didn't get a sappy romantic ending, as you would expect. Because again, the moment that song starts playing when they're introducing being awkward together, I feel like, oh god, one of these subplots. But thankfully, no, they commit to killing her off. But I feel like, again, considering we're both working now, did you get the sense that she was being very artificial with her discussion of work?
To be honest, I don't really remember it because I haven't seen it in quite a long time.
Yeah, I this might just be me because I'm young and whatever, but I just feel like the way she talked about how chipper things were with her job and how she, and introduced herself. Oh, my name's so and so. It felt very non-natural, weird.
Yeah.
Again, I might just be saying this because I'm naive, but I just feel
maybe
like
she's really enthusiastic about packing presents or whatever.
Yeah, I just feel like work
for intergalactic Amazon.
Yeah, but I feel like any work, no matter what job you're in, no matter how much you love it, it's not going to be 100% sunshine and rainbows. So I kind of got the feeling that it's very kind of weird that you're so chipper about this job, even though you've apparently been in it for a few years now, and it's literally a warehouse. So
and it's not that interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a bit.
Maybe that's the point of the character.
Maybe. I guess it was meant to kind of make us care about her more when she did die. Oh, she had such hope.
Did she die? I don't remember what she looked like.
Yeah, but yeah, not really a memorable scene, but it wasn't terrible, I guess. But the twist with the AI not being the villain, it was actually just this kid, this janitor. Not bad, but yeah, just expected, I guess. I wasn't expecting it, but again, when the AI is not involved, it's got to be human influence. I am just glad though it wasn't the boss, because when they were kind of teasing that maybe the boss is the bad guy, I was worried they were going to do another is this going to be like a snobby rich guy is the bad guy again. Thankfully they didn't, and the guy was actually on the good side for once.
Yeah, I think that was a good, because everyone probably thought this guy's the villain. Oh
yeah.
No, he's not.
I didn't like that even the Doctor went out of the way to say, "Oh, are you the bad guy? Are you the one who's behind this?" And I thought, "Oh God, please don't tell me you're doing this, Doctor." But no, thankfully the guy was good, and thankfully she got over it quickly. But yeah, the twist was nice, but I think the episode overall, it was it's on par with Demons of the Punjab. It's a filler episode, but it was all right. It was fun to watch. It didn't feel like I wasted my time like Arachnids did and Transigan or whatever that episode 5 was.
I've sort of realised that the episodes of this series that we like more are very similar to old series, or similar to old series themes, right?
Really?
So I think this episode is pretty good because it is very much like, not classic Who, but by classic I mean the revival series. It is very sort of similar in a way. It's an interesting mystery and it's an interesting concept that's pretty funny. It's very sort of a Matt Smith episode, so that's probably why I liked it more. And also Lee Mack's in it, and I like Lee Mack, so I enjoyed this episode most of the others, I think.
Yeah, so moving on then, we get to the next episode, Witchfinders. And I'm not gonna lie, this was the episode I was dreading the most, because it was no surprise, considering this is the first female Doctor. We were bound to get an episode that would deal with this. And I was glad that for the most part the season so far at this point didn't heavily go out of its way to say the big change was a woman now, but again, Witchfinders expected, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like this episode. Again, the concept sounds great, And the thought of the Doctor going up against witches in the 16th century or whatever period it's set in, fantastic. Oh, you've got King James there as well. Cool. Maybe you can have some kind of little Easter egg to the gunpowder plot, and maybe down the line you can maybe do an episode about that. Even though they did do a game about it like some years ago or something. But
Did they?
yeah, they did like a Matt Smith computer game about the gunpowder plot or something, which was
I played that. Pretty fun.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but yeah, I would love them to do an episode on that. But for this episode specifically, I didn't enjoy it, and it's shot very well. The scenery and the settings were nice, and the actress who played Lady Savage, she was great. But
Mate, the actor who played King James, what's his name? Alan Cummings. Lots of people don't like him. Lots of people love him. I loved his performance. I think I'm with you. I didn't enjoy the episode, but whenever he was on screen, sort of hamming it up and chewing the scenery, I loved it. I think that's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to take it in a silly way.
Yeah,
and I did really like his performance as King James.
It does feel like he read the script and he saw how conflicted it was going to be, so he tried to be intentionally funny. And I know for some people that was off-putting because he's so over the top and dramatic, but I actually think that was a highlight because it really depends on how you perceive acting to be. Because anyone can watch this episode and probably get annoyed at how over theatric he talks, but I personally just find it a lot of fun because the rest of the episode was just so annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, and talking of acting, it's a small scene, so I'll just get out of the way. The little girl who plays Willa or Willie or whatever her name is, decent actress, but I can't help but notice that she broke face at one point in the episode, and I'm not gonna lie, it was just so unintentionally annoying and hilarious at the same time.
I don't. Which bit was that?
And when the Doctor and Yaz are confronting one of the witches for the first time, it's after that scene when Lady Savage comes in and starts accusing them. She's like saying, "Oh, you are the witch. You summoned these creatures," and the little girl is meant to be saying, "Please, it wasn't me," but she's clearly smiling in the scene. So it's just like, "Oh, come on, that was the only take you did."
She's just happy to be there.
Again, it's a small moment, but it's annoying. But that aside, sorry, but the main problem I had with this episode was that it continued to bash us over the head with women's problems, or I should say, women's rights for the times.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Allow me to clarify. But this episode was basically meant to tell us over and over again that, yeah, for a woman in this century, it was difficult, which is fair. But I also think that previous Doctor Who episodes have gotten away with that without repeatedly telling us it. I mean,
it's because the Doctor's been a man.
Yeah, but he's always had female companions with him, so I feel like they should have treated it to that same level as well. Because again, as you said earlier when we were doing Rosa, it's good that they push the bar to an extent. But at the same time, I feel like they always have to have this balance, otherwise it goes too far on the left side or the right side. Because again, one of the big complaints they've had this season is that it's trying to be on one of those sides, and it's just not fun for certain people who notice it and feel like, yeah, I want to watch fun. I want to have fun with this episode. I want to see the Doctor fight witches. I don't want to be told, oh, how difficult it was for people back in those ages and how it's difficult even now, and that kind of thing. And I just found it very annoying that the Doctor was going on and on about how, oh, it's difficult now. Even if I was a man, I wouldn't be putting up with this, which is true. But you're the Doctor. You're an ageless god at this point who's had God knows how many years on your belt, and you've been to this era so many times. I would have thought you wouldn't be the one to complain about this. If anything, you would be the one to be just like, oh, forget about it. It's human stuff. We'll move on. And maybe have the companions bring up every once in a while. But the fact that the Doctor just keeps doing it, it just gets very annoying fast. In fact, there's actually this other YouTuber I want to give a shout out to. I think her name's Alteori. Along the lines, apologise for the name, but yeah, she's a great YouTuber. She's also very vocal about how Doctor Who's been going down the toilet, essentially. And she basically did a great video around the time of the episode's release called The Doctor is Boring. And it does kind of sum up, in contrast, how Jodie is acting. And it's just very it just kind of gives you an idea of how, yeah, this is kind of annoying. And she also brings up how Tennant and Smith and Eccleston were great at selling their scenes and their emotions compared to how Jodie's just delivering them, as you said, as just casual tone rather than giving energy to the performance. But yeah, and the other thing I didn't like was that the Doctor, again, defying her run rule, interfering with time, that she allows her companions to wander off in an era that's known to be difficult, as they kept establishing in the episode. I just feel like they should have done more. They should have made the episode more simple. It should have just been aliens trying to take over the world, or whatever. And they should have just tried focusing on more of that. Maybe have some character moments. They didn't need to try and keep pushing us with this subtle messages about difficulties for women at the time, or something. I don't know. It's, again, I've probably worded it terribly, but I guess the point I'm trying to say is that I just didn't find it a lot of fun to watch. It just kept reminding me of real life, and that's not what I want to do on a Sunday or a Saturday. I just want to have fun watching my favourite show and have fun watching aliens and fighting monsters and occasionally bringing up a topic that kind of resonates with real life, but overall just makes me go, oh yeah, that's kind of like today. We can enjoy the rest of the episode in all its fiction. This season, and this episode especially, just felt like it was just trying to be, hey, we're talking about this, let's talk about this, it's important. And it was just annoying, really.
I get your point, but from my sort of point of view, that stuff didn't take away from the episode, because I know that for some people it's like, oh, we don't want to be pushed over the head with all these problems, but they don't have to, but it's nice of them to sort of bring up and sort of tackle these topics, but again, they should do it in a way that doesn't take away from the episode. So if they can do an enjoyable episode that's fun and tackles it, excellent. But if they just sort of stop the episode to do it, then don't do that. But to me, I wasn't really distracted by that with this series, oddly enough, because I didn't like the rest of it. But that's just what I think.
Yeah, I guess that is fair. And to be honest, truth, as you've said, I think before we even started recording, you don't really know a lot about the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So if anything, you're not looking for it. Whereas me,
no, exactly.
I've known about a lot of this drama even before Jodie was cast. So if anything, I noticed it a lot more, I guess. So which is annoying to say the least. But I'm glad you at least saw differently. If anything, it's nice to have some diverse opinions on this episode.
Yeah,
but
I think it's good that we have different opinions.
Oh, definitely.
So it's not boring.
I just wish I liked this episode more, because again, a running thing throughout this season, the concepts and the ideas are there. It could be a lot of fun, but it's just there's certain things that just hold them back, and I just think that's to do with multiple things, from the acting to the choice of casting, but mainly it's to the writing. I just think Chibnall just didn't pull off a lot of good stuff, and the guest cast too. I do feel that some of them aren't good sci-fi writers. I think the exception being Rosa, and because that episode wasn't really heavy on sci-fi.
Yeah, that wasn't really a sci-fi thing.
Yeah, but everything else has just been meh to lackluster. But and another thing, just so I get off my chest as well, going back to what I said earlier about the Doctor just defying her rules, the fact that she dives in to save this old lady, even though literally the previous scene she said we can't interfere with time. Again, I just feel like if they wanted to show off she was more of a sharper Doctor as well, it would have been nice if she stuck her ground and she observed, let history happen, and maybe have the companions say we need to do something, and the Doctor just says no, we can't, it's history, and then maybe she could have plotted and observed the enemies instead of being out there, what was going on, I'm the Doctor and taking authority here, I'm in charge now. Oh, who are you, King James? No, I'm in charge now. Sure. Oh, I have to bow to you now? No, I don't want to. I don't like bowing. Yeah, I feel that, again, missed potentials, and they could have done stuff that would be interesting and different and developing for the Doctor. But with what we got for this episode, I just didn't enjoy it. So yeah, after that, going on to the final two episodes, It Takes You Away.
I can't stress this enough. I hate this episode so much.
Do you want
I'll let you get into it first because I've got quite a lot. You can say your stuff and then I'll get into why it's so terribly shit.
Okay. I'll say this. It's the first 2 acts I didn't mind. I liked the idea of, again, time travel going into a alternative dimension of sorts, or I don't know, some other realm or something. That was interesting. It's cool. And the fact that it was setting a cabin in the woods, again, even called a greatly shot, and the idea of there's this monster in the woods hunting this family. That's, again, it's very classical monsters, which I was enjoying a lot. However, once we got to the alternative dimension, small bit of problem with the writing, I think, because I think there's some terrible lines in that episode that just don't sell seriousness, and it was just awkward. It felt like padding when that happened, because I felt like, oh, you're meant to be leading us to this threat, but it really just went on for a few minutes longer until they got to the other side of the portal. So that guy's role there was just because we needed to have a few minutes onto the episode. But getting to the main thing, the fact that we find out that there is no threat, it's just the father who found this entity from beyond the universe or something, and it wanted company, so it basically became the image of his dead wife, and he became so obsessed with it that he abandoned his daughter to an extent. I can see what they were going for, and I can kind of understand it, but I'm not gonna lie, I really found it annoying and really frustrating about how they executed it with the Doctor's reaction. Because, again, some other viewers have brought this up, and I actually agree with this. It's not fair for the Doctor to go out of her way to basically scold him and say, oh, you're a bad father. Because, again, I can't say this from experience, because I'm not a father. I hope to be one day, but I am not a father.
Parallel universe.
Yeah, but I feel that... I need to stop saying that. But the Doctor has been a father. She's had Susan. She's probably had some other kids, maybe. But she knows what it's like to be a father and to lose people. So you would have thought that she would be the one to comfort him, to convince him that, listen, I know you're sad, I know you love her, but she's not your wife. Your daughter is here. She's alive. She needs you. And that would have been a perfect scene for her to just talk to the man, to convince him and reassure him. If anything, it's nice just for people who are single fathers to know that, yeah, we try hard. It's difficult, but we love our kids and we will do anything for them. But this episode, it goes out of its way to make the guy be almost oblivious to his daughter. And then when the Doctor basically snaps at him, it's not fair. Because... she should have been the one to convince him, not convince the alien, and vice versa, have the alien basically chuck him out. Because it just makes the father look bad now. So when you go into the end of the episode, when they are back together and they're moving back to the city or something, again, you just established in the previous scene that he's not really a good father because he was putting himself before his daughter. That moment with Graham and Grace. Nice, but I feel like this episode, that moment where Graham is talking to the Doctor, that scene would have worked so much better if the Doctor was talking to the father. I just think that would have been a great way to kind of resolve that story thread. And going back into the timeless child theory, the arc, whatever they want to call it, if that becomes something and it is Susan, wouldn't it have been so much better and subtle and even kind of emotional and moving if the Doctor brought up, yeah, I'm a mother. I was a father once. It's difficult, but you learn and you endure it because you love them. Again, missed potential.
And also, that could have been a funny moment because she could have said, I was a father. Bit complicated, but I was.
Yeah, that too. But the rest of the episode, it's all right. The potential is it's interesting, terrible. But for me, that scene I just did not like it, and the ending when you find out that it's just a frog with the voice of Grace, it's just really coming back on the budget there, BBC.
So stupid.
And yeah,
stupid.
I feel like they should have made it another non-seeable entity. They should have just made it kind of be like, oh, it's up to your imagination, and
it should have been. It should have been like the Doctor should have had the sort of entity that is the Grace, the dead person. The Doctor should have had their own dead person, because they could have easily brought someone back to, like, loads of people said River. Like, it should have been River doing it, or like someone else who had died. Maybe Rose. Maybe I don't know. It should have been. I think it definitely should have been someone.
I think,
like,
if
from
anything,
the past.
They should have had the actress who plays Susan in Adventure in Space and Time. They should have had her come back and maybe play a younger version of Susan. If anything, I do admit that does kind of undercut. Again, this is assuming if the Susan/Timeless Child arc is connected and it does come to fruition in season 12 or 13. If that does come true, that does kind of undercut the big reveal of, oh, it's Susan. But in context of that scene, it would have made much more sense to have Susan be the entity to the Doctor.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that it's a frog, it's just silly. And
stupid.
The scene just resolved itself very quickly. So, yeah, why bother? But, yeah, for me personally, again, nuggets of concepts are cool, but the overall episode, it was meh at best. Worst, that scene with the father and the Doctor. It just rubbed me the wrong way, and I can only imagine how single fathers who go through a lot with their kids are just watching this episode and I don't know what they're thinking, but I would rather not, because I definitely felt disappointed watching this episode. But that's just me. What about
disappointed
you?
Disappointed isn't even the word I'd use. This episode, it's okay. As soon as the episode started, it opened, I didn't like it, because it, to me, and this is for most of the, not most of it, but some of the other episodes, I felt this way. The budget for the BBC have got for the new series, it might be, this is a weird criticism, but I think the budget's too high, because it looks too good. It doesn't look like what Doctor Who looks like. It looks like, have you seen The Missing?
I haven't.
No. Okay, basically, The Missing is like a sort of a depressing drama about kids who go missing. To me, this episode, over all of them, felt very much like a drama which is depressing. And it felt depressing to me, because it looked... And the way where it was shot is very similar to those sort of series that are just full of depressing moments and really sad stuff, and just stuff that you don't... But that's the point of those things, but not Doctor Who.
Mm.
And the actress who was playing Hannah,
I think it's Hannah.
Christ alive, the worst actress I have ever seen in anything. It's like it's almost like Tommy Wiseau level of bad, but Tommy Wiseau's funny. She's just like, no, I hate you, go away. And I'm like, shut. Could they not have cast someone else?
Yeah, it's not the best.
Not the best. And the story, I don't remember much of it, because to me it was just so boring. Like, the thing about the monster in the woods, that was just a fake thing to keep her at home. To be honest, she's blind. How far do you think she could have got? Not to be rude or anything, but she's a child who has never been outside the house. I mean, she has, but like not recently. So I don't want to get into it anymore, because I'm in a happy mood and I don't want to be pissed off anymore. So that's that. I'm going to leave my thoughts there.
Fair enough. But yeah, so moving on from that stinker, I guess, if we finally get to technically the final episode of this season, the Battle of Koraxik, or whatever, I cannot pronounce that last bit, so let's just call it the final.
Ranskoor of Kolos.
Yeah, that. But again, just being plain and simple with this one, because quite frankly we've been talking for a while, and I want to get this wrapped up. So I honestly didn't like this episode, because it was a terrible final. It felt like an average episode. It could, again, people have already made this comparison, but I'll say, just for sakes, this episode could have been slotted in between any episode this season, and it would have been any different. It just felt very by the numbers of a casual filler episode. The only difference being that it had ties to the opener. But again, the stakes aren't very high. because the only big stake we have is that at least the stakes that we're invested in is that it's the guy who killed Grace.
Yeah.
Yeah. The subplot with the two characters, the guest characters, they have the ability to control elements of the universe or something. I don't know. Again, I don't know. It just seems very big of a deal, but it's not really the focus. It's just part of a subplot to allow the bad guy, to do his thing and destroy worlds or something. People have also said that this episode takes plot elements from the Stolen Earth about kidnapping planets, which I understand. Kind of annoying, but I didn't notice it at the time. But yeah, it's not really nothing new. So again, it doesn't really. It's nothing mind-bogglingly big that makes me go, oh wow, that's different, that's dangerous, that's threatening. No, the Earth's been stolen many times before on other planets, so I don't know why we should be worried for Earth. But I guess the main thing is that this episode is meant to be the final. It's meant to be the wrapping up story that's been going on since this season began. And honestly, this season there was no story. There was no consistent arc. And a lot of the stuff that was continued throughout was mostly just done in moment scenes. And the episodes just happened. So this episode just felt very weird. The guest cast, with what they were given with, was alright. I think, again, forgive me, I can't remember the guy's name, but he played Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones. Mark Addy. He did good. I liked his character, but again, he didn't do much outside of he's there to give a few exposition points every now and then. I like that he survived, because I'm glad they don't kill off every character that they introduce. But it doesn't really add anything big to the plot. Again, the Doctor has no stakes in this because she doesn't have this connection with Tim Shaw, and there's nothing. And the thing I would have hoped they would have done was they would have had it been revealed that Tim Shaw was just a pawn, and there was a bigger game at play, and maybe there was this new threat behind pulling the strings behind everything, and it was connected to the Doctor or the Timeless Child arc. Again, we keep going back to that, but that's the thing. That was the most standout thing this season gave us. So I would have thought that would have been the tie thread throughout. I thought that would have been the tying thread throughout each episode, and I think that would have held more of an impact. Or at least, if they weren't going to resolve the Timeless Child this season, this would have been a good way to say, "Oh, there's more to come." It wasn't just this one guy that we saw back in episode 1. I think that would have been better, but as is, this episode is just very weak. And when you compare it to previous season finals, even the shit ones like Hellbent and Wedding of a Song, even they had stakes in them that connected to the rest of the seasons. I like those
episodes.
You like Hellbent?
Wait, no, not Hellbent. No, I don't like that one. I like Wedding of a Song.
Yeah, but even those previous finals had effects and payoffs to previous episodes and the characters at stake, at central. With this episode, the only characters that really have some form of resolution is Graham and Ryan. But even then, it's not really. Again, Graham kind of already did kind of move on from Grace in It Takes You Away. So again, his want for revenge just kind of undermined that a bit. But again, it's nice that he's not a killer. But at the same time, it's just it's kind of expected. It's not really a big enough plot to really be the centre focus for a final. Because I'm getting tongue-tied now, and quite frankly, we've been talking for ages. But in summary, for me personally, Yaz again doesn't do much. Ryan himself as well. He has a few parts to play in this episode, but he doesn't really do much either or add anything to the plot. Graham is again, he's the front centre. This is meant to be resolving his grief for Grace arc, but it just doesn't really feel that impactful. We kind of always knew that he was never going to be a killer. Yeah, it just feels like a very meh ending, really. The Doctor, again, she has no stakes in this, so it's not really like we were rooting for her to beat Tim Shaw or anything. And even that moment where she's running in slow motion and Tim Shaw's giving his monologue, it just doesn't feel. Again, I'm assuming the audience. I'm assuming the writer is expecting us to be feeling dread for this moment, but again, I just feel like, oh, you're just freezing this, you're just slowing it down now for a dramatic effect. Can you fast forward so we can get back to the story? Yeah, and nothing else to say really. I'm just tired, and this episode just didn't really deliver anything that I was hoping for a final. What about you?
To be honest, my I don't have an opinion on this episode because the first 10 minutes of it I found so boring. I actually fell asleep. I'm not even kidding. I fell asleep, and I didn't bother watching it again because I couldn't be bothered to sit through it. Because it was the first 10 minutes was just so boring, and I'd imagine the rest of it would be the same.
Yeah, it is. Kind of is.
Yeah, so I imagine it'd be a good one. I just don't know because I haven't watched it. I was asleep. So that's my opinion on episode 10. I don't have one.
Yeah, well, I would say this: the only saving grace this episode had for me was the ending speech. The fact that the Doctor says, "Oh, even the universe can surprise you." That was a nice scene.
But did she deliver it in a good way, or did she deliver it the way she delivers all the speeches?
As she always did.
Yeah.
But it's still a nice speech scene. But
Fair enough.
I think overall, this episode was a letdown for a final. And we were expecting a lot more, especially when this season is meant to be the new starter point for an era. And you would have thought you would have wanted to do a story that gripped the audience and got them interested in what was to come for this season's past. Again, in the past, I've not been a big fan of Moffat's era, but season 5 is a genuinely good story, and it's its own contained story, but it's got setups in it that have effects and consequences in the long run for the Matt Smith era. With this season, the only one that really kind of stands out is the Timeless Child, and that was in one episode, in the second episode of the season. So, again, do with that what you will, but in terms of this contained series, it just doesn't feel Doctor Who. It just doesn't even feel sci-fi. It just feels like a time travel show that, I don't know, SFS or something, what some other random studio made and tried to capitalize on the time travel genre. Again, if this wasn't Doctor Who in the title, this probably would have fit in quite well, but in comparison to previous seasons that have done amazing, I mean, look at Series 1, which came out in 2005, had to reintroduce fans to Doctor Who and do it with a new audience that had been off air for over 10 years. There's no reason for why this season turned out the way it did. The way it did is because of bad writing, in my opinion. Weak writing, at least.
Chibnall.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a good showrunner for shows like Broadchurch, but like I've said for It Takes You Away, it felt like a depressing drama like Broadchurch is. So he's good at that. But he's not good at Doctor Who.
But without any of the integral, interesting writing or characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acting.
Yeah, I guess I kind of thought that Chibnall would be anti-Moffat, where his solo stories during his guest years were meh, but his stories when he was head of the show would be amazing. Honestly, they were mixed at best. I mean, the only episode that I really left walking away with a lot of satisfaction was Rosa and it was either Demons or it was Women Who Far to Earth. But those three are the only ones that really stand out for me as being rewatchable. Everything else, there's something in them that just makes me stay clear of them, and I just don't want to. I think overall this is the first season that I've really just not wanted to go back to since season 9, really. Because I can still watch season 10 and have some enjoyable moments with it, even though it's not perfect and
season 10
still cringe. It makes me cringe. I guess closing it off then with the final. I guess the New Year's special.
Resolution.
Yeah, I this episode should have been called Resolution of the Daleks. It would have been so nice.
That would have been good.
Yeah, let's call back to the classic stories. But yeah, when I found out the Daleks were going to be in this, I was disappointed because I was banking that when they announced the Daleks were not going to be in this season, I was really hoping they were going to stay true to that, because I thought, yes, not only does this give them not only does this give us a break from them, but it also gives us a chance to figure out this Doctor in her first era, for her first run, and then in season 12, we've got the Doctor, we've got everyone established, now you can do a good story with the Daleks and have it be built up, and not only can you do that, but you can do a story that has the Doctor reaffirm them as his threat, has her most dangerous alien threats, as her and her arch enemies. Because, again, I think Full Fat Videos, I think that's it. They did a video some while ago about the Daleks, why they lost their fear factor as they went on. And it summarizes that the Daleks portrayed throughout the Smith and, well, the Eccleston and Smith, the Daleks portrayed throughout the Tennant and Eccleston era, they were treated as the Doctor's greatest enemy because of their actions in Gallifrey. So the Doctor is always furious when they sees them. He's always brimming with anger. He wants to kill them because they killed his race. There's justifiable consequences and anger between the two of them, and that gives us compelling stories and compelling, interesting rivalries between the two. But when Smith came along, when he had his era with the show, and when the Daleks, after Victory of the Daleks, essentially they're just treated like monsters of the week, because every Dalek story post Victory of the Daleks, the Doctor just doesn't really react to them anymore. There's maybe some small lines here and there, but it's mostly just, again, from season 1 to 5, he's beating them with wrenches. He's got his mean face on. He's being the Doctor. He's being stoic and serious. But the moment Asylum comes along, he's cracking jokes in front of them. He's being comedic and silly. And every episode since, it was just another monster of the week, and it just happened to be the Daleks. And that just took away the fear factor and the threats and the dangers they presented to everyone. So my hopes were that if they could take some time off, they could have a proper build-up and the Doctor could reaffirm her hatred towards them. Maybe there could be some other hidden reveal in the past that infected the Daleks and the Time Lords, or maybe it could have been something personal with the Doctor. Again, going back to Timeless Child, the fact that Susan was left on the Earth abandoned by the Daleks' invasion back in 2051 or something, maybe that could have had a play into it. But no, the Daleks are back in this New Year special, and when finding out about them, she does not give any chilling performance that reaffirms their threat and their danger and the Doctor's fear of them or anger towards them. Instead, she literally just says the words, "This is the DNA of the most dangerous alien in the universe," in her monotone voice. And to add insult to injury, not only does that happen, but she goes out of her way to not bring her companions to safety, but instead take her with them. She also walks right up to the Dalek, and again, very chipper, very non-stock and serious. Again, there's better words of saying it, but again, Tennant and Smith, mostly Eccleston and Smith, and Eccleston and Tennant, they knew how to act, how to be serious when confronting creatures that are meant to be their arch enemies. The way they acted, the way they talked, the way they stood. With Jodie, she's moving every second, she's moving her hands, her face is very blank. It was just very annoying to watch the episode play out with the Dalek and just not think, you could be doing some serious acting chops right here. Instead, you're just standing there and trying to be funny.
Well, that's not her problem. That's the writing.
Oh yeah, it's the writing's fault through and through. But it's just frustrating that it's happening to the Doctor in her first appearance with these Daleks. That just stood out for me. Another thing that I failed to bring up throughout this episode so far is that, and going back to the Doctor, she overacts a lot in her mannerisms and her vocals and her body language. Again, going back to the final that happened, that scene where they're teleported onto the ship. In past seasons, you would have thought they would have had some monologue, and then they would have been teleported, and they just continued the monologue on the ship. So, again, kind of basic. But with Jodie, she has to go out of her way to scan the ship, talk, and then go "ah" while she's beamed up. And in this episode, in Resolution, when she's sneaking through the warehouse trying to find the Dalek, no, again, why not just normal sneak? No, she's actually tiptoeing, almost like a cartoon. Yeah, sorry, rant over. Outside of those bits, the episode itself was just very, very, very generic. As par of the rest of the season this far.
It was quite a generic episode.
Yeah, the two guest characters, they did alright, but the girl should have died. It's cool that the Dalek, we got to see a Dalek out of its casing, and it got to take over a human. But the editing,
we've seen Daleks out of their casing before, and they don't look like.
Yeah, Yeah, but it's nice that they changed it up and it's different. It's not going to be another basic squid, pink squid.
No, so now it's a green squid.
Yeah, it actually kind of reminded me of the Daleks from Revolution of the Daleks, or the Peter Davidson episode from the 80s, because they were green.
I don't think they should have. I don't think they should have redesigned. Like they can redesign the casing of the Daleks. That's fine, but I don't think they should have redesigned what the Daleks actually look like. I didn't like that. I thought they should have stayed the same.
Yeah, the explanation as to that it's a Dalek from a past era.
It's one of the first Daleks or something.
That's understandable, but that's also kind of frustrating because. So you're saying that ancient Daleks were able to overwrite the TARDIS controls because so and so, but the modern Daleks who you've faced God knows how many times so far at this point can't. Kind of contradicting there. But yeah, the fact that we got to see a Dalek take over a human, that was cool. It was something different for a change for the Daleks. However, that editing when it's trying to take over a mind, very cheesy, very terrible.
I didn't like that. Yeah, I thought that was the whole thing was cheesy. I didn't like the concept that they can take over.
Yeah, and this is something that another reviewer brought up. I can't think of who they were. Sorry, but the fact that the Dalek goes out of its way to laugh.
Yeah, that was so. I started laughing because it was just so ridiculous.
Honestly, again, going back into story territory, the Daleks have only laughed once before, to my memory at least, and that's when Dalek Khan was in Stolen Earth and Jenny's End, and that was because he was mad.
That was amazing. That was really
justifiable. So with this episode, it just kind of feels like, do you understand the Daleks?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Tired. This isn't what the Daleks are. That's why it was the wrong. It didn't look like what a Dalek looked like. The Daleks have never done that before with a human. The Daleks sounded different, but I was so happy when like the actual proper Dalek noise, the Dalek voice came on when he was in the casing.
Yeah.
Apart from because I thought maybe they were going to completely change it, and I was like, oh no, this is what they're doing here.
Yeah. When it was actually in its casing, it was all right.
Yeah, I like the sort of redesign. Right, do you want me to get into my sort of thoughts on this episode, or are you still going?
Yeah, I've got a few more things to bring up, but
go ahead.
I don't mind the redesign, but I'm glad it's not the new design going forward. I do hope they give them a change up, because I'm hoping they can embrace a new era with this show. So when they do bring back some classic monsters in season 12, hopefully they give them a new revamp. But for this Dalek especially, it just, for a classic Dalek that was from the early years, it looks alright, and the scenes when it's in the casing and when it's killing those soldiers, that was cool. Good use of the higher budget there, I guess. But the rest of it is just very missed opportunity because it's just so lackluster. Because again, this episode was hinging off the Doctor and the Dalek and their reactions together. I think that would have been the selling point for me and everyone else, I guess. But because the Doctor just treats it like another alien of the week, and because she's just so non-affected by it that much, she more just talks about the dangers of the Dalek rather than gets across an emotion that these creatures are dangerous, we could not let this one live, anything like that. You know, not those exact words, but you get the point. These are Daleks. The Daleks are meant to be the Daleks are a force to be reckoned with when it comes to the Doctor and the Daleks. So I just didn't get that with this episode, and that's what I was hoping for when they were going to bring the Daleks into the Doctor's story for the 13, and it just didn't deliver for me. Everything else in the episode, the stuff with Ryan and his father, not gonna lie, also disappointed, because I was hoping they would keep that reserved for season 12. It would have made so much more sense. It would have given them a lot more time to flesh that out and deliver a decent payoff. But the moment where he's talking to his dad in the cafe, that was nice. It's actually a moving scene. But in terms of what leads to the end with him being taken over by the Dalek, he should have died. He should have died, not willing to let his son kill himself to save him. Because again, probably some hidden message under there. They could have maybe given a reason for why. I don't know. Again, I'm not a father, but I feel like the fact that he goes out of his way to save his father, and then they say, "Oh, that's it now, we're good." even though this guy abandoned you for God knows how many years and has done nothing at this point to earn your respect as a son back, outside of the fact that he's your father. So, yeah, that's an entire potential plot line wasted just so they could resolve it in this episode, this season, I guess. Yaz, again, does nothing. She's just there to occasionally talk and give exposition. Graham is fun with his scenes, but again, he doesn't really amount to much outside of be there for Ryan and his story. And again, not bad, but as a whole, he's just the best actor out of the series with the best bits. He's not really central to this episode, I guess. And yeah, overall, I will say this though. One of the many positive things, I did like how the ending point of the episode, where we have that very cheesy shot of the two characters holding hands as the TARDIS dematerializes. I like that they made a callback to the Tom Baker time vortex, where you have the TARDIS just standing still and then it morphs into the time vortex, kind of like how the Fourth Doctor's intro does the same thing. That little scene was nice little homage there, but that did kind of remind me of the other thing that I didn't like, the fact that they discarded UNIT so quickly in a throwaway scene.
That was funny, but I was like, she said she's by herself. UNIT isn't the only people you can ask for help. There's so many other people that you can ask for help. So ask someone else.
Honestly, I think it's just it's just more frustrating because UNIT is one of those companies that has been so associated with Doctor Who history. You'd think that what they should have done is that they should have had a two-parter episode focused on maybe the fallout of UNIT and why it has to go underground or something. But the fact that it's just a throwaway scene with a very annoying receptionist saying, "Oh, UNIT's been disbanded because of budgetary constraints, because Brexit."
Yeah, stupid.
For the people who are looking for political reasons to hate the show, it just feels like, oh, there you go. They're talking politics. They're talking Brexit. Oh, UNIT got rid of Brexit. Brexit got rid of UNIT. Again, it just feels like, oh, you're putting that in there just so you can cater to those people. And putting that aside, it just feels like a wasted throwaway scene to say, oh, so here's all that history with UNIT. It's gone now. Even though you spent like the last 3 seasons trying to re-establish them into the world. Which you did.
It was a very frustrating scene.
Yeah, it's a frustrating scene just in general. It's a frustrating scene because they could have done more. Again, I feel like even Arachnids in the UK could have maybe had use of UNIT if they wanted to. But I don't know, it's just, I'm sure we could come up with a million different ways on how they could have done Series 11 better, but as it stands, Resolution was a very lackluster ending to this season. A very boring special.
Yeah. So it was a good. I'm not gonna say it was good. It wasn't a bad. I keep saying this a lot. It wasn't bad because it wasn't bad. It was an alright episode. There was lots of bits that I didn't agree with about the Daleks and like how they were portrayed. But something I really did actually love is that, like you said, the scene where the Dalek is by himself, slaughtering the entirety of the army that's there. I thought that scene was excellent, and I think for me that's probably the best bit of any of the new Doctor Who, like Series 11. That's probably my favourite scene because it just shows the sort of brutality of the Daleks. So one Dalek took on the entire army with ease. I think that was excellent. But saying that, it does make a sort of plot hole that you see the Dalek shooting so fast and with all the bullets, all the missiles that come out of him, its casing. But when the Doctor turned off the shields, it can't attack multiple people at once. You know, that to me seemed a bit plot holey. But also that I don't know if I need to sort of watch it again to decide if I like the fact that the Dalek was a lady making, like, was a lady. The Dalek took over Charlotte Ritchie, the actress. I didn't think it was kind of cringy when she was like speaking with the Dalek. I didn't find that interesting. Like, I didn't like that. And I don't think I liked the fact that it was the Dalek taking over her to make the body of the. I think if it was just the Dalek out of the thing by himself making it, I think like making is casing. I think I would have liked that more. I think, but I'm not sure how they would have done it.
Yeah.
But I like the sort of new design. I like the. I mean, I'm glad it's not the sort of the new thing. For like a one-off episode, I think that's okay.
I would like to also add in this other bit.
Yeah.
Another throwaway scene that doesn't really impact the episode, but it's just like a little nitpick. The fact that the Dalek has to kill a gay character.
Which bit?
Literally, it's just a throwaway scene of this policeman or this officer or this security guard, and he's just doing his stroll, and the guy has a throwaway line of saying, "Oh, my boyfriend, so and so," and then the Dalek just cuts to him, and it just cuts to him, the Dalek dragging his body away into a closet or something.
Oh, that bit.
Yeah, again, pointless.
Was he? I don't think he was gay. There's nothing. It doesn't matter if he was or not. It doesn't. It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't matter. But
I don't think he said it.
It didn't need to be in the episode.
No, it doesn't matter, Matthew. That's fine. It doesn't make any difference here or there. I think
exactly, which is why it shouldn't have been in the episode.
No. You're missing the point. It's throwaway. So you don't. It doesn't need to be taken away. It doesn't need to be. It's not a criticism, if you know what I mean. It's not anything that's bad. So it shouldn't be a complaint because it's nothing bad about it.
But it doesn't add anything to the story.
Yeah, but saying girlfriend doesn't add anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it still does.
So would you, if he does? I don't think he said boyfriend though. I didn't hear that. But
He did say boyfriend.
Oh, well, fair enough. But if he just said girlfriend, would you have complained?
Yes.
Why?
What's the point of introducing a character just to kill them off a second later?
Because I don't know. Because I don't know. It's just because they need to have him kill someone.
Then why not kill the guy who was the boyfriend to the girl? He's been more prominent throughout the episode, and it was more of a stake for him to try and rescue her. How bittersweet would it have been if he was the one who died?
Because then they wouldn't have the thing at the end where they're.
That would have been better. It would have been so much more better if she had died at the hands of the Dalek, and it maybe killed him as well, trying to rescue her. Because again, it adds a bit of brutality, I think, to the world, which Doctor Who needs every once in a while. Because the thing I hoped throughout from the opener was that the season would be a bit more brutal and realistic with deaths and consequences, which it didn't in the end. And again, only the villains tended to die. But in this case, I thought this could have been great if as a result of even knowing the Doctor or just meeting her for a few seconds, like Erin in that Love and Monsters episode. If you touch the Doctor even for a second, anything can happen. And I think that would have been great, nice, cool to that if these people just met the Doctor for a few minutes out of their life, and she got taken over by a Dalek and died because of it, and the guy who just became her boyfriend, he tried to save her and he died because of it. It adds threat levels to the Daleks, but it also adds more to these characters that are just throwaway characters for this one episode, really. Because let's face it, good, they had a happy ending, but are they really going to contribute anything to future seasons or to this current season? Not really. They're just extra characters that were there because. But if they were killed off in these brutal ways, it adds more to the Daleks, it adds more to their threat value going forward, it adds more to the Doctor because I couldn't save these people. It proves you guys are bad, you are Daleks, you need to be destroyed. Again, it's layers that can add more to other stuff. But as a result, this episode is just... Again, it just kills off extras who just have throwaway lines that just try to make us care about them, but no, we don't. And he's just there for a few seconds, so why bother to begin with? And the characters that do survive, again, we're not going to see them again, so what's the point? Again,
kill everyone.
It might just be me, and I'll accept that, but it's the small things that just tend to annoy me, that stick out the most, and I just feel like...
I think that does make sense.
Yeah, but... Yeah, we're getting off tangent again, and we are going too far at this point, so let's wrap this up then. Do you have anything else to say about Resolution before we finish?
One last thing. I didn't like that the Dalek can be destroyed by a microwave. I didn't... Like, you've never seen a Dalek being overpowered by force, like, by hand. And I didn't like it. But I guess because it doesn't have the shields, or it doesn't have any of the I mean, it does have a gun. It does have the eye, and it does all the. It can fly, but it can still be taken over by hand and stopped by hand.
God,
I didn't like that
God
bit.
damn it! Why? Again, there was Dalek fragments or something scattered around three corners of the world or something. Why not Why not have one of those things be like some kind of Dalek technology that the Doctor could revamp and use as a weapon against the Dalek? Instead, we just get a fridge. No, a microwave.
A microwave.
So apparently, the most dangerous beings in the universe can just be beaten by a microwave from Tesco's or something.
That Ryan's dad can make or something.
Yeah, so it's also they can make amends, even though there's no legitimate reason for him to make amends with his son at this point, or for Ryan to accept his amends. But yeah, so I guess wrapping up officially then, going overall for season 11, what do you think as a whole?
I didn't like it. I think I'm not sure if it's my least favorite series because series 9 was dog, but it was definitely not favorite season. And I don't like Jodie as the Doctor. She's a fine actor. She's a fine person. She's a lovely person, but I don't think she's right as the Doctor. I didn't like Yaz. Ryan was a bit bland. I liked Graham because it's Bradley Walsh, but it's only because I like Bradley Walsh. It didn't feel like Doctor Who to me. It felt like a series. Like if it didn't have the name Doctor Who or the TARDIS, then it would have just been. And I'd watched it. I wouldn't have compared it to Doctor Who because it's not Doctor Who in my opinion anymore, which is sad. And this is the only series Doctor Who that the episode have come out and I haven't watched it for ages. Like I literally just watched the New Year special today, and that's a month away that I watched it after it came out. So, and I've never had that with Doctor because Doctor Who has been something that I've sat down and watched every week when it's come out, and I don't have a phone. I don't distract because it's part of my life. But now it's just naff. But there've been some good bits, like Rosa. That episode. There've been some like funny scenes. Like the banter's fine and the chemistry's like good between them, but it doesn't make the good stuff does not compensate for the bad stuff because the bad stuff's just naff and terrible.
Okay.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So finally putting a lid on this. I had hopes for this season, and I was going in with a skeptical mind. As a whole, for Series 11, it was a letdown for me, because it was... The concept and the potential is all there. Every episode had that one idea, that one story, that one villain, that one character, that one concept. It was all there to be great stories. And if they'd maybe paid more attention to sci-fi elements and an arc, maybe given more characters some interesting stuff to do, more stories to do, maybe even give the Doctor more to do outside of just exposition half the time, it could have been great. But as it was, I just think this season overall was filler. This entire season just felt like it was trying to get by so we can get to some different stuff next year, and turns out we're not getting it next year, we're getting it in 2020, which is a long ways away. But yeah, every episode really was just very hit or miss, and mostly on the miss. The only episodes that really stood out that I enjoyed, that I have watched again and again, a few times at least, is Rosa, the Woman Who Fell to Earth, and Kerblam. And I think it was those three. I might have mentioned another one earlier, but those are the ones that come to mind because they were the most enjoyable to watch. That one that didn't have me scratching my head in annoyance. Every other episode was just filled with ideas or things that just grinded my teeth, because it feels like the stuff that you would know not to do in Doctor Who. Again, examples being previous seasons, because they've had flaws in a similar regards before. But this season predominantly feels like they took a lot of those flaws and just plopped them in every episode. And it really shows. And it just really, really gets on my nerves. In terms of the characters and the companions, the Doctor and so on, and everyone else, they aren't given enough to do in terms of a story. It just feels like they're literally going by week after week, doing something different that doesn't really impact everything. I'm rambling at this point, but it's not the worst season ever made. I think they would have to really screw up and shoot themselves in the foot to go that far, because there is stuff to like. However, I do feel like if it is to be true, if the BBC, if the team behind Doctor Who, if they really are going the same way as Star Wars and apparently Star Trek and Ghostbusters 2016, if any of that is to be true, and considering the fact that some of the actors have come out of their way to, especially Jodie Whittaker, who's come out of her way before to basically to discard white men or something, I don't know, again, stuff I don't want to talk about on this channel, because that's not what this channel is about. But if any of that stuff is to be true, I can only hope that the fans who are rebelling at this point can be heard, and the BBC and Chibnall and Jodie could take it in their stride and just accept that, yeah, we screwed up with Series 11, let's learn from our mistakes and we'll do better in next season. Because they've started filming a few days ago, I think, at least from now when we're recording. So there is time for them to change some scripts up, or give Jodie some more time to build on her mannerisms and her acting. Again, they can work on the flaws that they had last season. It's there, and they have a whole year to work on this. So I hope they just learn from that, because the worst thing they can do is just blatantly ignore it and just continue doing what they do. Because, again, prime example being with Star Wars, it's been going on for a year now, and people still talk about Last Jedi. I'll talk about this more when we do the podcast on Star Wars, but again, fans, they are the driving force for a lot of these shows, and Doctor Who's been going for 55 years, for over 55 years. So Star Wars, who's been around less, only 40 at this point, don't think you're going to be escaping from the wrath of the fans, because fans know Doctor Who, and sure, everyone is different and everyone has their own opinion of which is better, but the majority have spoken that this season wasn't good. It wasn't on par with what we were wanted or expected, and as shown with previous seasons, they can do a good season with just one season with one Doctor. So it can be done. They just need to do better. So I think, again, finally getting to my actual conclusion, overall, season 11 was a letdown. It has some gems, but there's not a good episode out of the 10, out of the 11 really, except for the few episodes that were just fun to watch. But not every episode was good. I think Jodie has a lot to live up for. She hasn't sold me on being the Doctor yet. I don't mind her look, but her TARDIS could be a lot better. The Sonic's not bad, but again, just adding in one more nitpick. I don't like that she over dramatically uses it with her hand in a way. That's another complaint on my end, but hey, going back to the main thing, I think she just needs more time to develop. The companions too, they need to be given more stuff to do. The only one that's really stood out is Graham. Everyone else has just been there, and the villains were the villains were the least interesting thing about this season. They were the weakest in this show thus far. So it's a shame overall. Again, I apologise for taking forever with my explanation, but overall it's just a letdown of a season, so I can only hope they do better. So yeah, yes. Do you have anything else to add, mate?
Nah. I think I've said everything I want to say. Yeah, the bit where Jodie sort of over dramatically whips out a Sonic. That's just. I think she stopped doing that in the later episodes, but
no, she kept at it even in the Revolution.
I was watching because I made sure every time she put it, I was like, is she going to do it? But she didn't. So.
Yeah, so that's really it. That's our review of Series 11. Here's to the future, hopefully. Again, we can only be hopeful, but yeah,
let's hope it's better.
Oh, it's got to be. I really hope it is. I don't want Doctor to go to the wilderness again, but if it's going to continue like this, I'd rather go on another trip into the wilderness years rather than continue to be criticised and be terrible. But yeah, so that's our review of Series 11. Thanks for joining me again for this, mate. It was nice to get this all off my chest, and I'm glad we can move on
Yeah.
from this and hopefully just talk about some more interesting content down the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should have some new videos coming up soon. We will have another Doctor Who video up hopefully in a few weeks as well. And I
Yeah.
can promise you we will be having some Star Wars and Kaiju content coming around as well. So keep an eye out for that. In the meantime...
And Game of Thrones.
Oh yes, don't forget Game of Thrones. I'm actually helping Lynn out with some stuff. I've actually introduced him to the show recently, so we're having a blast with that. So
Excellent.
keep an eye out for that. And in the meantime, thank you for joining us for today's review of Doctor Who Series 11. I am Kobi,
And I'm Harry.
and this is Great Owl Entertainment. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.